You've found yourself at the junction where worlds meet. Politics.
Civility? How about honesty in this country, folks?
Entertainment.
I don't like entertainment.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
It's about having a healthy body image. You have a very unhealthy body. You should have a horrible body image.
Not a big home improvement market in Detroit.
We are definitely going to get letters.
You're listening to Talk Radio's Strangest Animal.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know.
You're getting louder with Crowder.
But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Oh, I'm in the spiritus.
That's the sound of the weekend. Glad to be with you. I am your host, louderwithcrowder.com for all references. Bookmark it, know it, love it, because we write every day, do videos every day for people watching or listening terrestrially. Producing with me in video studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. You can follow him on Twitter at NotGayJared. I fulfill my legal obligations. Draw your own conclusions. We good?
We're good. Appreciate that.
Good. We have a fantastic show.
We have a huge show.
Unbelievable show.
And you know, we screw with people so often. I don't think people know.
Don't say we screw with people.
We don't ever screw with people.
We
but I'm
always put
saying we don't
together
know
big
if.
shows.
No, but I'm saying people won't know if our guest lineup
That's
is
true.
real. They never know.
Well, we have the great one, Mark Levin.
The real one
Is on.
Yep.
We will have Tim Kennedy, who's fighting in the UFC, the biggest UFC card ever in New
gonna
York
be huge.
City. He's also a big Trump guy. Spoke at a Trump rally recently. Used to be a big Rand Paul guy, from what I remember. And then we have James O'Keefe talking about
Project
and
Veritas.
perhaps leaking some new information on the.
What are you staring at?
I don't know what I'm staring at. I'm staring at to make sure
This
we
is
have
weird.
all the clothes and everything for the sound dampening.
Yeah.
Mark Levin will be talking, of course, about his new show at conservative TV, CRTV.com.
CRTV is easier to say.
CRTV.com.
Less
Interesting
letters.
stuff. Creating some new alternative media. And you know what? We are going to have the big election live stream Tuesday night, November 8th. We've got...
Is an election coming up? I heard
There
something
is
about
an election
that.
coming up.
Something about the 36
Yes.
commercials
3 dozen
during
commercials.
every commercial break
Yeah.
during the World Series.
You're
tipping
ready to
off.
blow your brains out. And
the worst.
big announcement there on the
election night.
hashtag Never Daily, the election night. And it's been an emotional week for me and the missus. We're moving. There are a lot of changes in the life, and good changes, but we'll talk about them. A lot of changes this week, so we have a lot to get into. This is why, we're not a daily program, so sometimes by the time we get on this show, we go, oh my gosh, that was this week? Oh yeah, we did the show before that. The Anthony Weiner scandal and the FBI, that all happened after.
It's the gift that keeps on
It's
giving.
the gift that keeps on giving. That all happened after our last show. So of course you all know about it, but I think this is the highlight of the Anthony Weiner scandal. Joe Biden was even caught off guard in an interview live, and they brought it up, and this is how he feels about Anthony Weiner.
I'd be remiss if I didn't note that if she had released all the emails from the get-go, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, that's true, but I don't know where these emails came from.
Apparently
I
Anthony
don't-
Weiner.
Well, oh God, Anthony Weiner. I should not comment on Anthony Weiner. I'm not a big
Well,
fan.
you know what? That's right.
I wasn't
Nobody should
before he got in
comment
trouble, so
on
I
Anthony
shouldn't comment on
Weiner.
Anthony.
No good comes from Anthony Weiner.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing good comes from Anthony Weiner. So this is, for those who don't know, FBI reopened the investigation was never closed, let's be clear. But they found some new emails on Huma's laptop. As I've always implied on this show, I can substantiate it zero, but I believe that she is Hillary Clinton's insatiable lesbian partner. So now it may relate to
You
Hillary
make it sound
Clinton.
consensual. I can't imagine that's the case.
I can't imagine. I think Hillary can only enjoy physical intimacy if it's non-consensual.
I think you're right. I think
Donald Trump's locker room talk pales in comparison to the sex dungeon that Hillary Clinton has. That's what I think.
Yeah.
She is just a really dark person. So this came out. There have been so many developments. By the time you hear this, there will be more developments that everything has changed in the election. Everything has changed. If you go back and you listen, I always said, you know what? I think Donald Trump has more of a chance to win than the media is giving him credit for. Less of a chance than his hardcore supporters think. I think if you go back 3-4 weeks, I said probably about a 60-40 chance, and I've always maintained that. That's exactly where the betting odds are now. If you look at 538, the polls have changed a lot. And hey, people go, are you going to admit the polls are rigged? No. And isn't it great that they're not rigged? Because now it means that Donald Trump, and no one really believes that anymore if you actually look at the people who support Trump.
Yeah.
They're all citing the polls right now. And the thing about the polls is they have followed these controversies to a T. They wouldn't change if they were rigged.
They may not be accurate all the time.
They may not be, no. But the RCP, the totality of the polls, and it shows him up in Florida, shows him up in Nevada, North Carolina, New Hampshire. By up, I mean increases. Not every poll shows him ahead, but it's put a lot of states into play. And if you want to believe the conspiracy theory, and it's a fundamentally very unintelligent that, well, they're oversampling Democrats by 15, so when it's even, it means he's up 15. Okay, the only way for that to be true is if Donald Trump wins Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and he wins it by at least 12. If that happens, then you're right about the polls. If it doesn't happen, I'm right that they didn't try and rig the polls and now go back and try and make it more accurate before election, even though they were doing a plus 15 before. I think the totality of the polls have been relatively accurate, and I think that's a great thing because now we see Donald Trump really has a shot. And I think, oh my gosh, with Hillary Clinton, this just shows Donald Trump is not without his flaws, but she is the most corrupt being to ever seek office. It is unreal, the level of corruption.
Makes Watergate look like Child's Play.
It does make it look like Child's Play.
That was a thing?
It makes Child's Play, the film, the motion picture, look like Child's Play. And I watched that doll kill someone with a protractor. It's pretty graphic.
That's graphic.
It's pretty graphic. Not as graphic as what Hillary does to Huma. And I remember the big scandal this week they tried to throw out at Trump was the tax loophole. It's like he used these tax loopholes to pay less taxes. If you are a business owner and you pay any more taxes than you need to, you are doing a great disservice to your employees and your shareholder if you're a publicly traded company. That's one thing that people don't understand. There is nothing, you should absolutely pay your taxes as an American and not a cent more than you have to. So this was a non-controversy that didn't stick with Donald Trump on the tax issue, and I was glad that was the case. We have a couple. We don't have any more clips. Oh,
no clips.
Donna Brazile got fired. That happened before this last program.
There's a silver lining for
Donna Brazile.
life.
I will not be persecuted, and you're fired.
And you're fired.
Oh, hot damn!
No.
Good luck finding work, sweetheart. So and we're going to talk about Joe Biden recently, where the Obamacare premiums have gone up there so much this week. But let me bring your attention here to the new electoral map. So I've got this on my screen. This is the RCP electoral map. Jared, you got that?
No, you need to refresh it maybe because it's
Oh, you know what's
sticking.
happening? All right, hold on 1 second. Let me get this up here. The ARCP. AARCP. I'm thinking Wilford Brimley. What's that? The reverse mortgage? Diabetes.
Diabetes.
There you go. You should be getting it.
Let me refresh it.
Okay. So I want to bring this up because the whole map has changed and things have opened up, and there are several paths to victory possible. So let me give you this right now. This is the RCP map on my screen. You see Clinton starts off with 258, which I think is generous, and Donald Trump with 157.
And look at underwear.
Yes, and ads for underwear because this is being used on the interwebs. So this is the RCP map. I'm going to take you here to 270 to win. Last week we looked at his paths, and it's changed a huge amount this week. Oh, wait, no, that was 3. Damn it. What am I doing with my websites? Okay, sorry. This is the RCP map, 180 to 226. Now, that's what's changed. So let me show you Donald Trump's paths to victory. I think he'll win Florida. I've always said he wins Ohio for sure, right? There you go. Right away he's at 175. Georgia, I think he wins. Now it looks like Arizona, Utah are more surefire things. We thought for a while that might be, some people, I always said he would win those. Nevada now. Now, here's the thing. Nevada has him polling ahead, but with early voting, he needs to do so well in Nevada, which is why early voting shouldn't be a thing. Imagine voting before all this stuff was released. And then you're trying to suppress the vote because you're racist. No, it's because it's an election. There's election day. That's what you do. If you're too lazy to vote on election day, you shouldn't vote. Absentee voting, if you're abroad, makes sense. Or
Women?
a male.
Yeah.
That makes sense, but you've always been able to do that. Early voting, I don't think should be a thing. I don't want every single completely pathetic basement-dwelling wipe the Cheetos off their chests. Hey, I'll go out and vote since I can do it before trick-or-treating. I don't know why it sounded like Louis Anderson. So Nevada, it's... hold on a second, let me change this Nebraska map. I don't know why it does that automatically. Nevada is only 6 votes. A lot of people think he'll win it. He is ahead now in polling, but he's so far behind in early voting. But let's give him Nevada. Iowa, he gets. Looks like he gets Florida. Not a sure thing. It's a 50-50 shot. I think he's likely to get Florida. And I think he's likely to get North Carolina. That puts him at 265. So, if he does this, if he runs the board, now he could make it with stealing either Wisconsin or Michigan, which I don't think is likely. Pennsylvania is close. I really don't think. I think he has a better shot at Wisconsin or Michigan than Pennsylvania. But if he takes any of those 3 states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, he wins. Or he could do it by taking New Hampshire, which is very close, and 2 of Maine's 2nd district, and he wins. Okay? So there are a lot of possibilities here. Or if he takes Colorado, he wins. Now, on the flip side, so there are a lot of possibilities. This is great news. And here's one thing, too. A lot of people thought that we were anti-Trump. Jared is voting for Trump. Courtney is voting for Trump. I'm pretty sure my wife voted for Trump. Mark Levin's voting for Trump. Tim Kennedy's voting for Trump. What's so clear right now is Hillary Clinton is so unbelievably corrupt, and you have Louis C.K., and you have Amy Schumer, and you have Lena Dunham going up saying she's actually a great person. Nobody buys it. Nobody buys it, and that's what's hurting Hillary Clinton more than anything. And that's why we've not done that with Trump, because if we say he's great, and he's likable, and he's run his businesses with aplomb, no one buys it, and you lose people who are willing to listen if you're a cheerleader. Do you know how many thousands upon thousands of emails and tweets we've gotten saying, you know what, I'm going to vote for Trump now because he's a lesser of 2 evils? You know how you convince people? By not being a lackey. So that's what we've seen now. If you look at the enthusiasm for either candidate, it's important to remember, okay? Whoever wins does not represent a majority of the country, because they won't even get 50% of the vote, and less than half of the people who voted for them did it enthusiastically. So that's important. So you've got to convince people on a rational level. I think that's hurting Hillary Clinton. And I think that's what's helped Trump recently is the cheerleading has stopped, and people have gone, well, Hillary Clinton is just so damn bad. These are the choices you have. So don't do what they're trying to do with Hillary Clinton and whitewash her faults. Acknowledge Donald Trump's faults, but still, your other choice is Hillary Clinton, and that's a more convincing argument. Right here, you look at this map. It's a horse race, folks. This is unbelievable. It could be the greatest, biggest FU to the media. We'll be right back. We'll talk about Joe Biden and healthcare.
You don't have to be a doomsday prepper to want to be prepared. Natural disaster, riots, any kind of civil unrest, it just helps to have peace of mind and know that if you need it, you've got a 30-day supply of food. And that's why right now with a promotional offer from louderwithcrowder.com, you can call 888-457-3453 or go to preparewithcr.com. That's 888-457-3453 or go to preparewithcr.com. You can get your 30-day full supply of food. Set it somewhere, forget about it, $99 shipped, 140 servings. I gotta tell you, it's easy. I just keep it in my basement, and it's actually, I tried some with my wife. It's pretty good. It's tasty stuff. Oh yeah, their chocolate pudding it's actually really pretty tasty. How are you breathing with that? Damn it.
Hey, Jared, what are you doing?
Shooting bad guys.
With what?
By AR-15.
Where'd you get it?
AR-15.com.
Enunciate it more clearly so our audience can hear.
AR-15.com.
That's better. They sell guns now?
Yeah, they do.
Are they any good?
They're the best.
Where from?
AR-15.com. Kapoo. Kapish.
You really make that sound?
Didn't have the budget for sound effects. Kapoo. Kapow.
Oh, there's another one.
Kapow.
You got him! With what?
By AR-15.
From where?
AR-15.com.
Hey, how do you know they're bad guys?
Turbans and burkas. Kapoo!
That's racist! I'm going to keep punching the air. Speed back, speed back, speed back, speed. It's like Joe Biden's pulse. Let's go talking about Joe Biden right now. Since we're talking about this, Joe Biden gave an interview this week. I had a friend who's not political said, can you please address this? Because as someone who knows nothing about politics, Mark Levin, the great one coming up after the break, by the way, he said,
I feel like I just heard at least 5 things that were wrong. And when I watched it, I said, yeah, you know what, you're right. And I can dissect that pretty quickly.
I mean, 2 clips to kick it off
Yes,
with.
we have 2 clips to show the tone of the interview with Joe Biden. Here's the scary thing. If Joe Biden had primaried Hillary, you know he would have won.
Yeah.
You know he would have won.
That's so, I can't wrap my mind,
Even with his
mind
little
around how terrifying.
his riff-raff pipe cleaner hair
Riff-raffed.
plug do.
It was bad.
All right, let's roll these first 2 clips to give you the tenor of it.
I think they've acknowledged that they could have done it better.
And the emails.
The good news, thank God, is there's
Clip
no
Foundation.
evidence
Oh,
of
yeah,
anything
there's so
that's
much.
been illegal. But it's you know, like for example, they've now said that when she wins, he's getting off the. I hope when she wins, if she wins.
Well, Joe, this week has changed that a little bit. So right away, he's starting off with his victory lap.
And if you thought that was the only one that happened,
No?
it wasn't.
No? All right, let's see the next
Seen
clip here.
it to other control of others beyond the Clintons. I think it'd be, I think it's going to be necessary when if she becomes president.
Oh, gosh. Oh, these people are so arrogant. Listen, as someone who is, like I said, as a constitutional conservative, I don't really have a candidate here. I love watching the circus at this point. I am so emotionally unattached. I'm like Jeffrey Dahmer with the corpse in his basement. I don't care enough. I just want to see the fireworks. So Joe Biden goes on to talk about Obamacare. Now, here's the context. The Obamacare actual people in the program, the enrollees, so Obamacare, the subsidization program, effectively, they're going to see their premiums go up about 25%. He's asked about that on the interview, and here's where the BS meter starts going.
Obamacare.
Yeah.
25% premium increases on those who buy insurance through the federal exchanges, ameliorated by subsidies. But some insurers are leaving the program. Is it in peril if the next president doesn't get some legislation to fix it?
No, but I appreciate, as usual, the way you asked the question.
I appreciate you
All the people
softballing
I've
that
issued.
crap.
85% don't get their insurance through the insurance plan, this exchange. So that 25% doesn't apply to 85% of the population. Of those
Okay,
that it does.
pause it real quick. We know, okay, 85%, but guess what? Their premiums have gone up insanely. Just from Forbes, they have a projection for 24% in 2017. Most people we know have over 40% premium hikes because, of course, guess who pays for Obamacare? The people who aren't in Obamacare, the taxpayers. So the 85% aren't affected. No, they've already been affected, and now your government program that's supposed to be a subsidy is too expensive. So here's how Joe Biden plans on solving it.
Apply to, as you said, the vast majority will get an increased subsidy for the increase in the premium. But there are things we have to do. We should be in a position where we are providing a greater subsidy for young people to get into the marketplace that can't afford to get in, because when they're in, what that does is bring in a whole group of healthy people into the system.
Okay, pause. This is what, first off, I love how his solution is. We need to fix this. So government got involved with effectively a subsidized program. It's not working, so we're going to subsidize it more. I have this right here. Federal Reserve report found link. This is why college tuition is so high. Just to give you an example, this is how government screws everything up, you stupid effing Bernie voting millennials. Free college, free healthcare. Let me tell you what it's like. Here you go with free healthcare. Here you go with government subsidized healthcare. You know why your students, your student loans are crazy? You know why your tuition is so incredibly high? Once upon a time, you said, you know what? Okay, it's going to cost $10,000 for the year. And then some kid couldn't afford it. And so the government said, you know what? Let's create some kind of student aid. We'll help you fill in the $5,000. Then schools realized, say, if the student can't afford it, the government makes up the slack. Let's charge $20,000. The kid says, I only got $10,000. The government says, well, let's find some kind of student aid for you. We know they'll support us at collegehumor.com. And then they give another $10,000. So then the schools say, let's raise the price to $80,000. And guess what? I only have $10,000 and the government's paying $70,000. Student tuition is high because of government involvement in exactly what you're seeing with Obamacare. He goes on to say, well, this will encourage young people to go in because they'll be healthy. And this is the same people. They say, well, no one could have predicted the costs would rise. Of course we did. did because of exactly what you just said. You basically forced people to buy insurance. Most young people didn't because they chose to take the risk or they had catastrophic insurance, HSAs. They don't buy health insurance. And so what happens? The people with cancer, the people with diabetes, the people who are sick are going into insurance companies. They can't deny them, and there's no cap on what they can charge people, so everybody else's premiums go up. Every single basic economist and non-economist could predict it. Exactly, because of what he said. Let's continue.
Instead of what's caused this increase in premiums, which is very sick people signed up.
Yup.
There's other things we have to do as well.
If those fixes aren't made, though, the trend line is not, if things stay as they are, no legislation to fix the problems you've identified, then it seems in peril.
Well, no, I don't think it's in peril. It's not
This is
working
key.
as well as it should, because here's what happens. You still have, no one can be denied health care for pre-existing condition in or out of the system. You still have children being able to stay on their parents' health care till they're age 26. You still have women not being able to be charged more than men. There's a whole...
So that's it. I can't take any more. For a second there, I thought he was being logical until I realized he was using those as positives for Obamacare. For example, you can't deny for pre-existing conditions, costs go up. For example, kids can stay on their parents' premiums until they're 26. Guess what goes up? The parents' premiums. For example, women can't be charged more than men. Really? Insurance companies can't charge women more than men because vaginas? Well, let me let you in on a little secret here, okay? The lifetime distribution of health costs. Women spend on average over the course of their life $316,000 or $361,000 actually. Per lifetime expenditure is $316,000 higher for women than a man. Female health care is more expensive. It's not because we're sexist. It's because women tend to use more prescriptions. Women have OBGYNs. When you're 40, when you're 50, men go to a proctologist, you get a finger up your ass, it's a little unpleasant, that's about it. But guess what? At our age, we don't have OBGYN visits every 6 months. We don't have a Schwanson doctor. We don't use prescriptions as much. We're not as fragile. Female health care is far more expensive. So Obamacare, who could have seen this going up? Well, you have to take sick people, you can't charge women more even though they use more, and we're going to subsidize it more, causing record inflation. Who'd have thunk it? Mark Levin next. And now, Donna Brazil seeks work. You wanted to see me? Yes, Miss Brazil, please take a seat. Thank you. So, Mrs. Brazil, there's no easy way to bring this up, but your performance has been underwhelming, to say the least. Whatever do you mean? Well, some people have been complaining about your behavior in the office. I don't have to sit here and be persecuted. That's right, you don't, but you also certainly didn't have to lay your bare ass on the photocopying machine. I'm not going to sit here and let you persecute me. Well, you don't have to, because the good news is you're fired. But I cannot, in clear conscience, give you a positive referral. That wasn't even me, Miss Brazil. How do you know it wasn't the Russians? Well, we suspected as much until we noticed there was a tattoo on the left cheek which read Donna Brazil, rocking it since 1959, which narrowed down the possibilities. Anyone can have that tattoo. You have no fans. You don't even know if that's true. Well, the fact remains that you were fired. I wasn't never even hired, though. So you can imagine how uncomfortable this is for me. Stay tuned for more. Donna Brazil seeks work. All right, glad to be back. This next guest, possibly the biggest guest we've had in the program.
Possibly.
Possibly.
You could be right.
Don't talk directly into your microphone. He's a radio guy, and you're giving the pop. You're gonna give him nightmares.
Nightmares.
You know him from one of the top radio shows in the country. I personally think Liberty and Tyranny should be mandatory reading in colleges. Good luck with that one. And now has a nightly show at crtv.com. The great one, Mark Levin. Thanks for being with us,
Stephen. How are you, brother?
Well, with this election, I think everyone's seen better days. It is how are you feeling about that? Because you've been remarkably consistent and you were critical of Trump in the primaries when he stepped out of line. Now you're supporting him where you can. It seems like that's pretty rare these days. You're either all in or you're all never Trump.
Well, I'm all never tyranny. And so you got to sort through these elections and try and figure out what's the best position or the best candidate we can back. We constitutional conservatives, we don't have a candidate in this race. So I don't make any, excuses for that. We simply don't.
Right.
But still, there's a matter of principle here. And the matter of principle is Hillary Clinton is so detestable, so deplorable on so many levels. Just look at this. Look what's going on right now. All the seedy connections and activities and so forth. But even worse, whether it's Obamacare, an open border, massive tax increases, massive regulations. I still feel like I'm in college, believe me. I know I don't look like it. I still feel like it. I resented professors. I resented them trying to be ideological and ram their views down my throat. The older I get, the more I reject this kind of authoritarianism. I'll tell you that right now. And one of the things that has kind of bothered me, the last book I wrote, Plunder and Deceit, which was really for younger people. If you want to resist authoritarianism, you should be resisting centralized, iron-fisted government. You should be resisting the left. That's what you should be doing. And Republicans are all marble-mouthed. They don't know how to explain this.
Right. I remember it was one of the biggest ironies. Green Day would say, American idiot, fight the system. Yeah, take down the man. So we want more of the man in the system by giving them more of our stuff. Hold on a second. There's a disconnect. You're right. And I have always said this. As someone who's a little bit younger, if I were a Republican strategist, I know I never will be. I don't know how you get that job.
You burned that bridge long ago.
Yeah, I burned those bridges long ago. 4 issues, I think, are winning with, when we say millennials, I mean anyone under 40. Freedom of speech, that's a big one right now. The tides are turning. Islamic terrorism, people are okay with admitting that. The biggest one is the Second Amendment. That's a huge winning issue with younger people. And this whole feminism, neo-feminism, destroying of gender lines, that's been overwhelmingly rejected. But these are cultural issues. And I know you talk about that on your program a lot. Do you think it's just that Republicans don't get it because of their surrounding entourage? Or do you think they avoid it because it might be politically incorrect and maybe Trump's tapping into that?
I think the Republicans don't know what they stand for anymore. I think this whole progressive era that started 100 years ago and that we're living in today, they don't know how to react to it. So they kind of go along with it, or they may attack it in piecemeal. I try to attack it head on, and I talk about constitutionalism, not because it's boring, because it's all about liberty. People want to speak, that's in the Constitution. They want freedom of association, that's in the Constitution. They want the right to bear arms, that's in the Constitution. They don't want to be harassed by the government, that's in the Constitution. They reject centralized bureaucracy, that's in the Constitution. If you look at the Constitution. And what is that all about? It's about liberty.
Right.
That's what, independence. We ought to go back to the founding. If we go back to the founding, believe it or not, they were more libertarian, more conservative, more individualism, more private property rights. And if we don't send this message, not just to younger people, but to all people, then what the hell do we stand for? We don't stand for anything.
Plus, those originalists, they smoked hemp every now and then, and
They
first
did.
American liquor
And still got stuff done.
was Applejack. Did you know that they used to? Do
Really?
you know cold distillation? Do you know what that is? Freeze
Like the
distillation.
cereal?
Mark? No. Freeze
I'm too
distillation.
I like the cereal.
Freeze distillation is they would take, they'd take the cider, and to distill it, George Washington, which amazes me because they don't make Applejack anymore. I was reading up on this. He used to make this, the best Applejack. You take the cider, and then you freeze it, leave it out in the snow. What happened is the water freezes off, and you're left with a concentrated liquor. Apparently gave the worst hangover because it's not a very refined method.
You know so much useless information.
Very useless. Unlike you, Mark, my knowledge is almost entirely useless when put into practice. I was talking about that last week. There's a disconnect there where I think young people, and maybe that's why, the libertarians have had a real opportunity until what is Aleppo. What you're talking about is identified by young people more as libertarianism, because their closest example of a Republican sort of conservative would be George W. Bush. Not a bad man, but not necessarily someone who adheres to kind of the constitutionalism you're talking about. Do you think that's fair?
No, I think it's very fair. And one of the things I'm trying to do, and you're able to do it better given that your audience and so forth, is make the point that younger people, all people, but younger people in particular, should be conservatives. But the way we talk about conservatism, it sounds like old school. It sounds like, stuck in the mud. No, we're the anti-status quo. We're the anti-big government. We're the pro-individual. We're the pro state sovereignty. So if Colorado wants pot, then go at it. If Utah says no, then it's no.
That's
if
a
you want to
safe
live
bet.
in Colorado, go to Colorado.
Yeah.
If Texas has the death penalty, good. If Massachusetts doesn't, fine. And go to Texas. I live in Virginia. I'm a proud Virginian. One of the reasons is I believe in the death penalty, among other things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons to live somewhere, to argue for something, for mobility, all these things that are important to individuals. That's what's important to me.
Yeah.
This one-size-fits-all, authoritarian, iron-fisted uniformity, conformity, that's the left. Just take Obamacare.
Ugh.
Obamacare. It's the platinum, gold, silver, bronze. What is this, Plato's Republic? And that's it, and you can't get out of
It's
it?
Donald
If you
Trump's
don't pay,
penthouse.
we're going to fine you? What's that?
I said it's Donald Trump's penthouse. So you got platinum, gold. It could be all. No, I think you're right, and it is really a failure. I think in communication. Let's put a hypothetical in here, okay? That Hillary Clinton wins the election. Right now, it's up in the air. I would say probably a 60-40 chance she wins if you look at early voting. But Donald Trump could pull it off. Let's say that happens. A lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives on radio, I've heard them say, it's over if she wins because of demographics, Latinos. Here's my contention, and it's just because I think the doomsday sort of theory is really unappealing to young people. You don't need to win Latinos. You just need to get maybe 35%. If Republicans just got the under 40 vote, if they just lost it, meaning they only got 40% of that vote, as opposed to 18 to 32 as Donald Trump is, you'd never lose another election. If they could get 45% of the under 40 vote, it wouldn't even be close. But we're always talking about the black vote, the Latino vote, and going, hold on. All racial barriers, gender lines, it's that under 40, it's not even close. And I never hear a strategist talk about it.
I'm of two minds on this. First of all, if you're bringing people into the country who are very poor or illiterate in their own language, the government and the Democrats are opposed to assimilation. It's very, very hard to appeal to people like that in any way because there's a lack of communication. There's balkanization. You have ethnic front groups that are heavily financed by the government or tax-exempt groups, and this is the way they want it. On the other hand, it would be nice if Republicans and even conservatives, whoever they are, wherever they are, would start to communicate with people in real life terms and link it to principles. So what is the difference between a conservative and a liberal? The liberals have somehow created the mindset that they're for liberal stuff. In other words, culturally they're liberal and so forth. They're not.
No.
They're not. They don't want you to step out. They decide this is the way the bathroom system's going to work. This is the way marriage is going to work. Whether you like it or not, we're going to impose it on you through the Supreme Court. Guys like me say, why don't you get out of our face and get out of our life? We know how to handle the bathrooms. We know what to feed our kids. I know what kind of toaster I want to own. Yes, leave us alone. I think our arguments, and I try to make it as aggressively as I can in this Plunder and Deceit book, I think our arguments resonate. And younger people should understand. I've got kids that are your age. Younger people should understand and can understand. You realize that we are deceiving you and we are plundering your future? They talk about free college and free this and free that with a $20 trillion fiscal operating debt, a $200 trillion unfunded liability debt. I know that sounds monotonous, but the fact of the matter is it's going to crush you. Not me, you. It's going to destroy your futures. I don't mean to be Mr. Negative.
No.
I mean to be Mr. Reality.
No, I think you're right. And it's funny when I talk with, well, my grandparents, I guess rest in peace, or my grandmother-in-law, even if I make the joke, I go, oh, yeah, they got their Social Security check one week. I said, you're welcome. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, we're not going to get it. She goes, well, I paid into this. So, and I go, yeah, I get it. But so are we. Just do the math. It doesn't add up. We won't get it. Well, I don't care. I've paid for it. And so I think a pivotal moment in the last election, this is me as this, sort of ham-fisted caveman compared to your degrees here. When Rick Perry talked about Social Security, and he said, listen, it's going to be gone. It's a slush fund. There's going to be nothing left. He was right. And when Mitt Romney and the other candidates jumped on him and attacked him, I was going, well, hold on a second. That's really weird. We should be supporting this. And I realized it was a demographic issue where they were saying we can't scare older people. We need to really pander to Social Security and kick that tin can down the trail. And for me, that was a defining moment where, like you said, I felt like I was being lied to by the Republicans in the same way that the Democrats do.
Well, the thing is, there's really two Social Security funds, and people may not know this. The summer before last, the disability fund went broke. So it's now being funded by general taxes.
Right.
And the truth is there are no funds. They've already taken all the money, they've spent it and operated. Yeah, this is a conversation that we ought to have in a non-election cycle, but conservatives ought to talk about it and not say we're going to take anything from you, but can we at least have a discussion about what's going on? But no, apparently we can't have a discussion about what's going on. Part of the problem we have is the Praetorian Guard media. I think the WikiLeaks stuff has shown that the media, for the most part, is in the camp of the left and in the camp of the Democrat Party. You've got them handing questions during the debate process to Hillary Clinton. You've got Borger at CNN. I always knew she was not so great. But you have Borger at CNN writing Podesta, "You're great. You're a TV star." What the hell? And so people need to understand, guys like me, guys like you, we're the anti-status quo. The government, look, the government's different than the country. We have a wonderful country. We have wonderful people, for the most part, in the country.
Yeah.
We have wonderful principles in the country. The government is devouring the country. The government is devouring the civil society. The government is devouring the individual.
Yeah.
And that's where I, at least, reject that kind of thing and argue against it.
Well, at least half of that devouring is taking. It's on behalf of Donna Brazile. I mean, have you seen her? It is. I don't know who stole her soul and replaced it with Al Sharpton, but it is. I will not be persecuted. And then next week you're fired.
I'm a church lady.
Because you. For those listening, by the way, I did not feed Mr. Levin these questions. Can you confirm that, Mark? Just so they know.
I did. I did.
You did?
It happens. Oops.
It's time for question 4.
Yeah, exactly. Betrayed by my own producer. I think it's one of those situations. The silver lining here, win, lose, or draw, like you just said. I think people who didn't have eyes to see or ears to hear now, I hear people going, yeah, I see it with CNN. I see it with ABC, NBC, CBS. The media is clearly trying to drag Hillary across the finish line. So even if she wins, I think the trust in the media is irreparably damaged. Would you say that's at least a plus here?
Yeah, which is why a few of us are trying to start these little operations to at least compete with it.
Right.
I think the new media is usually pretty good, but I think that some of the new media has gotten the old media habits already.
I think you're right.
But the more competition, the better, so people can make decisions for themselves. I also think a bigger problem is universities.
Yes. Well, you know what? I want to talk more about that new media. Some interesting things happening. What happened to my plurals?
I don't know.
Did I have a stroke? Donna Brazile? I'm persecuting my syllables. Mark Levin has a show at crtv.com, which we'll talk more about after the break, and some great books. I know many of you don't read, but give it a shot. Stay tuned.
It's still cool. It's still cool. Read.
This week with Principal Podesta. Well, I have it right here, Miss Brazile. So far this election, Secretary Hillary Clinton is leading by 9 points.
9 points?
9 points.
I don't remember seeing her leading by 9 points.
That's probably because she wasn't leading. We were rigging the polls. Wake up and smell the coffee, Miss Brazile. We are just leading you down the primrose path.
But I can't believe it.
I've got it right here on my computer. So far this election season, Hillary Clinton is winning by 9 points. Hillary! 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 Stay tuned for more. Principal Podesta.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
All right, glad to be back. We have our next guest, though. I think he's off frame. I don't know if he's hiding from us there. They're bringing us in. They're doing a beautiful. Oh, look, we're seeing his wonderful. Look at that. That looks expensive.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Mark Levin. Okay, so this
You
is
don't
your
think
new
it's
digs.
too big, do you?
No, I don't think it's too. It's
You're only looking at 1/3 of it, let me tell you.
Gosh, okay, so you've got the bookcase. So this is, for people who don't know, Mark Levin has been on radio for I mean, longer than I can even remember. Written fantastic New York Times bestselling books, but now he has a nightly show at crtv.com, or really you can get it whenever because it's online. So this is the studio, right, for the Mark Levin show at CRTV?
This is the studio. It's about 2/3 bigger than it needs to be, but here we are. You never have enough room. Yes, and we went to the Salvation Army, and we pretty much filled up our
Decked
shelves.
it out.
There you are.
I think the half that stuff is from my curb. It just went to Goodwill. And okay, but, you know, we only do it for the tax credits. Hear the left tell you. Is there anything sillier than like, well, rich only give because it's a tax credit? It would still be cheaper to just keep it.
Yeah.
I don't know if people believe it. Okay, so you got the Reagan head. Can we see that? I just saw really quickly.
Oh, all right. Let me. Can you follow me, guys? All right.
Yeah.
I'll give you a tour.
All right. You don't need to do a whole tour there if there's a lot of stairs.
No.
We don't want to put you on the Stairmaster.
This is my man right here.
Oh, so you have two Ronald Reagan heads. That's pretty nice.
You never have enough.
Good Lord, that is huge. That's a
3 or 4 of them. You don't want a whole tour. There's our fake fire. I don't know if you can see that.
Is that digital or gas?
Beats me. And then I like to play. Oh, digital. I like to play pool.
Okay, so you got a
there's
pool
our
table.
Pool table.
Those are
If you have a blackjack table, I'd have one because I like to play blackjack. I like to bet on football, but there's really no way to demonstrate that.
You know who's one of the best bettors on football is Norm Macdonald. He's like a sports betting genius.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's a sports betting genius.
He's pretty high IQ.
He's one of the highest IQs in all of the entertainment industry, and he plays it down. Yeah.
Unlike the rest
Me
of us.
too. That's what we all do.
Yeah, we try and just stay right under the radar, smart enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so foosball.
I got a wall of heroes there, we call them. I won't bore you with them. You can see Lincoln, John Locke. John Locke's the guy that looks like a cross-dresser there in the middle.
Yes, yeah, he was his era's Caitlyn Jenner.
But brilliant man. Our declaration is based on him.
Yes.
And so forth. I won't bore you with that. But that's what we have here.
Caitlyn Jenner's pretty bright. He, won the decathlon, so I give him some credit there.
Yeah.
I think he's voting Trump.
I'll tell you something funny about him. I was at the Reagan Library. We were at a table together. I was talking about one of my books, and he was sitting 2 seats from me, and we were just talking. And
was this pre or post Caitlyn?
Yes, pre.
Okay. So
and we were talking about the days he was on the Wheaties box and everything like that, when he was in the Olympics and so forth and so on. They're sitting there with the executive producer, I guess from the Kardashians. My daughter knows everything that's going on, and we left, and I said, I don't know what he's doing to his face, but he's starting to look like a girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little did I know.
Yeah. There was that, there was Bruce Jenner and there was Caitlyn Jenner, and right in between there was that Tilda Swinton era. Where you're like, oh, that could be the Narnia.
And they all have a penis. So there's that.
It's absolutely true.
What was that about penises? I couldn't hear.
He was saying they all have a penis. Did you know this about the trans thing? Most of them never actually go through with the surgery. And so we had an actual psychiatrist on who's dealt with these people and said, yeah, a vast majority of them don't go through with the surgery. So I asked, well, then at that point, and she said most of them don't do the hormone replacement therapy. I said, okay, so then what's the difference between a modern transgender and, a transvestite who just looked like a woman? She said, really none, except we file it as it's, gender dysphoria. And oh my gosh, the letters you would have seen that the psychiatrist got. It was a...
Well, this is always fascinating to me, and...
Sorry, we put you on the spot. We go from Constitution to wieners and dress wieners.
I just am trying to keep up with it, that's all.
Well, okay, so you were talking about this alternative media, CRTV, for people who don't know, CRTV.com. What prompted you to, I would imagine you've had offers for a long time because you have this mega audience. What made you decide to go here with CRTV and start this show?
I'll be honest, it really started with Levin TV. We weren't really thinking of a big network right on, and I just got sick and tired of what I was watching, and I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. It's impossible to raise enough money to buy a cable channel or buy cable time or satellite time.
Right.
It's tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions to get started. So we wanted to start small, and maybe we'll stay small, you never know. But we wanted to start small, get on platforms, get the younger people as well as others. And so this is a TV program that you can watch on, your iPhone, your Android, your iPad, your laptop, your PC.
Yeah.
Also, Samsung smart TVs.
Yeah.
We've worked out a deal with them now where you can in December, you'll be able to hit the icon on the Smart Hub and watch CRTV and watch all the programs on
What about
CRTV.
Galaxy 7?
What about what?
Galaxy 7 yet?
Galaxy 7, isn't that just blowing up?
It's just blowing up people's feeds.
Oh, God, what a disaster. How does that make it through the process, the Galaxy 7? In 26?
You gotta wonder.
Yeah, you
But
gotta.
at least the TVs aren't blowing up.
I got like
Not yet.
six updates saying do not fly with
The Galaxy 7,
this
yeah, it's
weekend.
going out. It's
Like,
the one
do
time.
not.
The
Do
one
not.
time where flight attendants are right. Don't turn on your device. Well, it is pretty big, though, Mark. It's not really that small because we've got you, Mark Stein, Michelle Malkin. Rumor is they're going to be adding some other people for daily content. That's a pretty significant lineup right out of the chute.
It is a significant lineup. And the thing is also, there's no commercials. Content, people will decide pretty much on their own content. We're trying to get conservatives/libertarians on there. And by the way, doesn't mean everybody's going to agree.
Sure.
In fact, we may, disagree rather aggressively. But that said, we're sick and tired of just the screaming on cable or the left-wing agenda on cable or the pretend news on cable and network news and satellite news. So we wanted to give people an opportunity to watch something else. And of course, they're really going to want to watch it if they get it because they're actually paying for it. They're not paying for the commercials indirectly.
Right, and people can sign up at crtv.com. I think it's $99 right now before we go to break. There's a special promo going, Mark? Am I right?
It's for $89.
Okay.
Right now till December 7th, and then December 7th it goes to $99.
So there you go. That's less than $8. That's about, we're going on $7 a month. I don't know how to do that.
You can get 10 of them for $990.
For less than the price of a Starbucks latte. Or or feeding a child. I don't
Feeding
know.
child.
I'm getting all my commercials mixed up.
Or for me, a Big Mac monthly.
Yes, exactly. Or Donna Brazil for Mark Levin, CRTV.com. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. We appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing what's happening there.
It's a great pleasure to meet you. God bless.
Thank you. Great one. That was Mark Levin. Stay tuned.
For breaking news on Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson. We're taking now live to a Secretary Hillary Clinton press conference in which Hillary discusses the reopening of the FBI's investigation into her email debacle.
Well, thank you all for being here, and I think we are on the path to victory. And I think that if you look at the situation, it's pretty clear that this investigation has only been reopened under the guise of sexism.
But why is it sexist, though?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that I'm being held to a different standard in regards to politics.
Was it sexism when General Petraeus was investigated?
Well, I don't,
About Donald Trump.
Clearly that's just,
Jesse Jackson Jr.
Okay, I see where...
David Safavian. That's still sexist?
Okay,
The entire Nixon administration, though?
Hey, Robert, can you maybe do that?
Yes, ma'am, Secretary. How about Thomas Lane?
Oh, no, it is always a tragedy when someone takes their own life at these political rallies. They can be very stressful.
He didn't take his own life. You just killed him.
No, you're mistaken.
You said something to that big man in the suit, and then he walked over here, and you killed him. I mean, he was alive, and then you...
Hot sauce.
We'll keep you abreast as this story unfolds. For Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson.
Don't get excited. Here we go.
Glad to be back. That was Pogo Bump. A lot of people complain about it. Shut up. We don't care. We love the Pogo.
People complain?
A couple people complain because they get
Well,
mad.
that's two.
Mark Levin.
Mark Levin.
Mark Levin.
The great one. Mark
Show
Levin.
there at crtv.com.
Yep.
Apparently some new contributors. Exciting things going on over there. We have Tim Kennedy coming up next.
We do.
We will have James O'Keefe after that. Gosh, there's so much to talk about. Do we want to...
Dean.
Jared,
You
what's
there?
up, brother?
Hey, it's Thursday.
right.
Hi.
Dude, so listen to this.
What?
Thinking,
Hit
running
me.
a lot of ideas through my head, like a
Give it a shot.
character, like a. Think about it, like kind of like. I mean, not the smartest guy in the world, but always
Yeah.
has an opinion politically and just kind of jumps in and does, whatever he kind of wants to.
Yeah, wait,
So that kind of a character.
Back up. What are you talking about?
Like a character, like I could play a character,
Okay.
who
Okay.
who thinks
No,
he knows
back
more
up.
than
I guess
on the
before that character for what? For what? What are you talking about?
Like I could play a character, like on the show.
On
when
the
the
show.
show goes daily. When the show goes daily.
Damn it! Do I need to talk to him again?
Yeah, he can't. You know what? It's gotten to the point where not every call is nice, okay? He's a nice guy, but not every call is nice.
I understand.
Okay.
I'll talk to him.
All right. We have a lot to get to. We'll talk about, some people are asking us on the Twitter there. I think Christian Eldridge was asking us, or Chewbacca's lover, about the Samantha Bee interview with Obama. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Lena Dunham. We want to talk about something right now that's a little more personal, but pretty important. We wrote about it on the website, bladderwithcredit.com, for those who don't know. And a lot of people read it. It was one of the most shared things we wrote this week. It's no secret that Louder with Crowder has been censored by Facebook, or been targeted for selective oppression by Facebook. It's technically not the government, so it's not censorship. But that was on Drudge, Gizmodo, it was all over the place that Louder with Crowder was fingered by Facebook as a page to throttle. We're fighting that legally.
In some
behind
ways,
the
a
scenes.
metaphoric middle finger.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're fighting that behind the scenes. Okay, just so you know. But this week, for the first time, we ran into this problem with Google here on YouTube. And there has been definitely an uptick in election time. And it's very clear, if you watch this program, we're not the people who always go, censorship. A lot of people, if they have something that doesn't do well, they claim they're being targeted, they're being oppressed. We do it when there's clear-cut proof. A couple of things have happened. One thing, we can't really show the screenshots. Google has blocked or suspended louderwithcredit.com from being promoted online, in any kind of ads due to gun-related imagery, and I don't know, they gave another reason. I think we have an email sign-up thing there. And so that hurts your rankings. That hurts if you search things. It makes you less likely to find us, and this is our livelihood. But YouTube, we found out this week, Jared can bring up some images. Prager University let us know this. I did a video with them this week. They are blocking our content through restricted mode. So if you're in restricted mode on YouTube, you cannot see our videos. What does that mean? That means most public libraries. That means most schools, certainly high schools, a lot of colleges, most public places. That means anyone who has a YouTube account, as far as I understand it, under the age of 18, YouTube doesn't allow you to see our videos. It's like a parental control. Our channel follows FCC guidelines because this show is syndicated across the country on radio. So we have to be pretty damn careful. Let alone, it's a PG-13 at best. Now, it is selective because if Jared brings up this image again, we did some comparisons. If you look at Young Turks, where everything, this is effing bull, everything, every other word is the F word. Every other story is clickbait, dishonest, it's attacking, it's insulting, it's bullying. All of their videos are available. All of them are available. Something else, if you search Steven Crowder on YouTube, a channel with 500,000 subscribers, about 100 million plays, we don't show up. It takes you to other channels. Again, if you are in restricted mode. So, does this mean censorship? No. Does it mean the government is stepping in and silencing your speech? No, but it's indicative of the collusion that's occurring with Facebook, we know, Twitter, we know, and now YouTube, particularly in this election. If you look at the featured section on YouTube, the trending is just John Oliver, Seth Meyers, Samantha Bee, non-stop HuffPost video, BuzzFeed. And what they're doing is clearly targeting us because we're being effective. Really, Louder with Crowder is the most effective individual conservative YouTube channel. You got Paul Joseph Watson does great stuff. There are some other bigger channels that are parts of nonprofits or big networks. We're a lone wolf out there. And this is our livelihood. So here's the problem, Google. They've made us a part. They've made many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars off of our videos because they've monetized them. So they've chosen to court us as users of YouTube as opposed to a different platform by offering to pay people to bring their content there. That's what makes YouTube. And now they're changing the deal. So that's the issue. They can kick anyone they want, but you can't entice people by offering them monetary compensation and then selectively targeting voices of dissent. So we want you to know, if you're subscribed on YouTube, just join Facebook mailing list. Make sure you have some other fail-safe, because every now and then people just aren't getting our stuff, and it's out of our control.
It's important to remember, it's not a fear-mongering thing, but it is important to remember that, while this is not government censorship, these are the same people.
Marbles?
I don't know what I ate. This is Nutter Butters.
that explains
Peanut butter.
it. All right.
These are the liberals that are getting voted into office. These are the same agenda that's a part of their platform oftentimes. So I mean,
very, very influential.
It's very influential, very controlling, and people that it's happening in this sector, in the private sector first, but it's not too far off and too unrealistic to see them pushing more of this stuff.
Yeah. And they meet with Clinton. They've met with Obama. Yeah. They've been courted. Silicon Valley and the entertainment industry is far more influential than DC. And that's why we don't get as tied up about the election, because culture is always more important. And regardless of who wins, you're always going to have the Comedy Centrals, ABC, NBC, CBS, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. That's the real important.
Speaking of real life and culture, we're also seeing a lot of universities blocking the website and everything, too.
A lot of well, that's the restricted mode. So universities automatically use
the website and
the
YouTube.
Website. Yeah. And so, listen, a lot of people have said, well, why don't you go start your own platform? Well, I understand it. Listen, we always want to fight back where the left is. I'm just taking some personal time here. It's not necessarily about the news. We'll get back to the news. We always want to fight the left where they are, okay? So people are on YouTube. We don't want to go to conservative tube or to God tube. We want to get our stuff out there because, with that 100 million plays we have on YouTube, great numbers. We're incredibly grateful. They could all go away tomorrow. We're very aware of it. But we've reached a lot of people. We've changed a lot of minds, and we don't want to shut that off. That being said, it is getting to a point where we can't be dependent on it. And so we will say this. There are some things in the works. November 8th, on election night, we'll be making an announcement. And if you want to support what we do and what some other liberty-minded conservatives do, you're going to have that opportunity. And we're not a Patreon group. We're not sitting there with our cup out. Remember that Warrior? I'm trying. So I wish I liked you more when you're an alcoholic, not sitting there like a beggar with your cup out. Ow, Tommy. We're not a Patreon. We are not going to ask you for money. Whatever we do, it is going to be such a value-added proposition that we hope you want to be a part of it. Everything that's free is always going to be free. This show is never going to be taken off free unless we get banned from YouTube. We'll put it on Facebook. The articles, the podcasts that you get once a week, none of that's going to change. But we are going to be adding some things as a fail-safe here because it is very clear that the left wants to silence people like us. We're not forcing you to take part. A lot of you have said, hey, where can we buy merchandise? How can we support the program? Are you going daily? #NeverDaily. You might want to stay tuned for the announcement. We are going to give you the opportunity to be more active and take a part in this movement. Because I know all of you talk about Twitter and Facebook, and you've had pages removed, and you've been banned, and you've had your colleges block our site. Or to our troops, thanks so much who listen. A lot of them have to only do it through iTunes direct download because the website's been banned in a lot of countries, or even on some military bases and government buildings. People can't read our stuff. We very much appreciate what you go through, and we understand that a lot of you don't have the platform we have. We understand that a lot of you don't necessarily have the voice we have. And so we want to give you the opportunity we want to be a megaphone for that, and hopefully we've done that. So it's been a tough week going into election, and we are fighting these battles on the legal front, so we don't go on social media and talk about it a whole bunch. We write about it once typically and then work from behind the scenes. We just want you to know that you may not be getting stuff that you're subscribed to right now. So wherever you're listening, iTunes right now, radio terrestrially, if you're on YouTube or on the website, just join somewhere else or two other places to make sure that you're safe. And it's sad that we have to do that. And this is emblematic of the left. Listen, private businesses have the right to do whatever they want. I understand that. But it is the left who is consistently at the forefront of trying to silence voices of dissent. Mm-hmm. I would never, ever, if I were to have an open platform like YouTube, try and just silence people because I don't want the Young Turks to be in restricted mode. I don't want, what's that guy, Secular Talk, who won't show up to debate. I don't want him to be banned. I don't want him to be suspended. I want people to hear what they have to say so that they can make their own decisions. And if you look particularly at what we do, it's not a brand of particularly anger or hateful rhetoric. It is an entertainment show. I mean, for crying out loud, we're playing Hipster or Hobo or Spot the Tranny half the time. And sometimes it's news political, but this is just the uphill battle.
That comes also, I think, a lot from just the battle of ideas between conservatism and liberalism, that conservatives generally rely on liberals hanging themselves by their own words.
Yeah.
Whereas liberals generally have to rely on the collapse of information, the control of information, that you can't get to it.
Right.
So, by all means, Chink, speak up. Keep talking.
Speak up. Well, like, same with Hillary Clinton and the FBI, the email stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, as we're recording this, more WikiLeaks are coming out. It does look like the FBI has found emails relating to Hillary Clinton's State Department tenure through this laptop. They don't know if these emails are relevant to the investigation, but this does look like there's more there with the laptop. This is interesting with the FBI and Comey, because the left went from praising him for basically letting Hillary off the hook to now they hate him and they want to prosecute him, and conservatives love him. I think there's been a bit of a switch there too. Like I wonder what Tim Kennedy thinks about this. The Code Pink thing. We've been getting these anti-military memes, and they're from some pro-Trump people. Like, these people just died for oil, vote Trump, which is weird to me. I get being anti-war, but there's been some flippings of ideas, which I find interesting. We'll talk about Samantha Bee and Lena Dunham next. Trigger warning. Not really.
And now, reasons left to vote Hillary Rodham Clinton, sponsored by Get Out the Vote campaign.
She'll keep robocalling me. She'll keep robocalling me. She'll keep calling me until I come over. She'll make me feel guilty. This is ridiculous. Oh, I'll vote. 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 Shit. Ah, damn it!
This has been Reasons Left to vote Hillary Rodham Clinton, sponsored by Get Out the Vote.
It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up my lads, come cheer up my lads. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, than never to have loved at all. The Federation Starship. Come cheer up my lads, come cheer up my lads. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. Captain Jean-Luc.
Glad to be back. That's another Pogo song. People love it. That is his new Star Trek song. I think it has 1 million hits right now. Oh, gosh, I'm not looking forward to this next segment. Here's why. Not KJR knows exactly why. We're talking about Lena Dunham. She has this whole video we're going to have to get to, and it looks like it was animated. It looks like it might have been animated by her dad, Carol Dunham. And if you watch my segment on Joe Rogan, you know what her dad does. Her dad draws one thing.
Yep.
And he draws them in a way that's particularly angry, is the only way to describe it. And I said, we're going to have to talk about this with the Lena Dunham video, and I want you to run the search for Carol Dunham pictures from her dad, paintings, and not get Jared. He totally tried to play it off like he thought I wouldn't catch it. He goes, I just can't import it into the TriCaster, and I think I said, you just don't want to look at the angry vaginas that her dad draws, right? He said, I don't. I really don't.
You can pull those ones.
This is from Lena Dunham. Apparently let's let her speak for herself.
How are you feeling about the extinction of white men?
Well, white men are a problem. Straight white men are a big problem.
Straight white.
That's for sure. But I actually feel pretty good about it. I think straight white guys have been screwing things up for long enough.
Yeah.
High time for straight white males to step back and let some other people do it.
Yeah.
That's my dad.
You should be proud your dad's a pervert. Yeah, straight white men who created the internet that you're using to distribute this, who created the technology that you're using to draw that, who created the style of artwork that influenced you to create that, who created the phone on which your daughter is tweeting, who created the laptop on which your daughter is working. Yeah, sure, of course, women have contributed to it. But, yeah, you know what? Straight white men have done a whole lot. Not saying gay people haven't, not saying black people haven't, not saying women haven't, but the idea that straight white men need to go extinct, first off, that's genocide. Okay, I think that's what it's called.
Rough.
It's also racist, and it's also unintelligent, and Lena Dunham looks like a potato. These are the pictures from her dad. These are her dad's painting. Trigger warning for people listening terrestrially. People watching, if you have small children, here's 3 seconds trigger warning. This is just actually if you have children, 3 seconds. I know we have kids who watch this show. 3, 2, okay. Here's the quick Google image search. This is all her father paints, Carol Dunham.
Oh, God.
Look at this. It's not one. For people who are listening, it is just my entire screen. It's
like a scrapbook from hell.
It is nothing. Nothing but angry nether regions. We can use that term. Angry vaginas. Angry, hairy vaginas, women without faces. That's all her father has ever painted. Jared, I just updated there the screen share. Her father has never painted anything other than hairy women's vaginas, typically from behind, faceless, looking into the sexual organ. This is the woman who raised Lena Dunham, who's a proud feminist and
The man who raised.
admitted. Did I say woman?
Well, I mean, either applies, I suppose.
I don't know. I don't know at this point. Speaking of which, Michael Moore looks like he might be going the way of Caitlyn Jenner.
I can see that.
You've seen that lately?
I can see that.
He's been getting some injections going on. You're like, oh, I think there's a little bit of estrogen
It
at
can't
play.
make anything for him worse.
It can make it a lot worse. Difference is, unlike Caitlyn, he doesn't have any decathlon medals. He's just, I mean, no one's buying that was really his choice. We have Tim Kennedy after the break. So this is Lena Dunham. We want white straight men to go extinct. I'm not one of those meninists or people who go, oh my gosh, we're the most. No, as a straight white male, I certainly don't feel oppressed. I'm not going to check my privilege. I'm never going to live by the standards that other people try. Well, whatever happened to just being yourself from the left? Right? Just be who you are. I'm a straight white male. I'm pretty good at it.
Do you want to rethink that answer?
Do you want to rethink that answer?
I'll give you an eraser. You can scratch that one off.
Well, I want to rethink it when I look at you, Lena. It makes me.
Well, have
question.
you noticed that even like the socialist rally we went to? It's like every person is something different on the checkbox of I'm a pansexual. Heterosexual is on there.
Yeah.
But they don't feel comfortable checking it. It's like part of the movement is you have to be.
Yeah.
Something else.
You have to be something else.
Yeah.
You have to. That's your ticket in. It's like the stamp to get into the nightclub.
Yeah.
I'm pansexual.
It's like, well, I'm still hetero, but
I'm a hermaphrodite.
I can get away with this one. I'm kind of pan.
Yeah. So this is Lena Dunham. It's just but this is the kind of stuff they're teaching your children in college. Straight white man. I'm surprised they didn't use the term cis.
Cis, yeah.
So she's going to get letters for that, and I will love to watch that circus. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, we don't have a clip from it, but Samantha Bee interviewed Barack Obama. A lot of people wanted to talk about that. We don't have a clip. I just thought it was so kind of inconsequential. Yeah. It was such a fluff piece. But you said something that I thought was true and very telling.
I picked up on something because I watched the majority of it. I'm like, my biggest takeaway was Obama was funnier than Samantha Bee.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. Yes, he was.
Self-proclaimed comedian and entertainer. Obama was more entertaining.
He was much funnier. And that's why I always say it doesn't, people are like, why would you ever compliment Obama? Why would you ever compliment Hillary? Listen, I can't stand them. But it doesn't do us any favors to lie about the fact that Barack Obama is a fantastic interview. Outside of Ronald Reagan, Barack Obama is probably the best interview, the kind of guy who is charismatic. I give him that. And I've seen him be pretty funny. Matter of fact, I defended him. Remember when he was on Leno and he said he was a bad bowler? He said he was kind of like the Special Olympics. And then all the Republicans were like, how dare he say that? And I was going, no.
Yeah.
Come on, don't do that now, because you would think it's absurd if they did it to the right. And I kind of liked that Barack Obama wasn't full social justice warrior. He just made a joke. He was being a little bit flippant with it. But I did think he was a lot funnier than Samantha.
Well, and it wasn't in a way that like a good host makes their guest more entertaining and brings the best of them. It wasn't that kind of to me. It was like,
he was carrying her.
He was carrying her, and her jokes were falling so flat, and they were so just, her deliverance of everything was just so bad, blatantly bad.
I think you mean delivery. Deliverance is the film where the guy gets molested and squeals like a pig.
Yeah,
with John Voight, who's also a conservative.
Still gives you nightmares.
Yeah. Did you ever see that? I watched that with my ex-girlfriend's parents.
I saw enough.
I remember that.
It's like, how did this end up on TBS? Click.
Well, I remember I came home with my ex-girlfriend, and her dad said, we used to watch movies a lot, and her dad said, what did you rent? Maybe I'll watch it with you kids. I said, Deliverance. And I was a teenager. He goes, what? I said, yeah, I know it's a classic. I didn't know why. Anyone here who doesn't know, Deliverance is a classic because of one very traumatizing sexual assault scene against a man. I said, yeah, I know it's a classic. And I just remember looking back, it was brilliant of him. He goes, yeah, it is a classic. So you've never seen it? I said, no. He said, oh. Oh, okay. And he sat there and he watched it, and he was just looking at me, waiting for that scene, and I wanted to melt into my chair.
I did that one time. First, hanging out with some good friends, and we watched. I put on The Departed. Totally forgot about the scarring images of Jack Nicholson. It was bad. It was bad.
Do we have Tim Kennedy coming up next?
Kennedy
we got
next.
him ready. Tim Kennedy, MMA fighter, Army Ranger, and Trump supporter on the
Overall
campaign trail.
badass.
Overall
Yeah.
badass. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Promise.
Okay, how long do we got?
Oh, the coyote, known by its scientific name as Anas casparianus. It is often vilified as
remember for the
lowest
live stream,
on the canine
on
totem
election
pole,
night, we have,
treated as nothing more
Dean
than a
Kaner
filthy
at
skeleton.
9:30.
Of
So
greatest
confirmed.
interest
We
in
need to
the
get
coyote
him
species,
the shirt
the
and the
female
mug.
coyote, commonly known as the bitch.
You could,
Though
you know, you
weakened
just talk
and
to him.
less
Still,
authoritative than her male counterpart, makes up for it with shrill, high-pitched howling, with the incessant
I told
screeching
him.
designed to confuse it.
I told him not to do that.
The bitch still finds herself dependent
maybe
on her
election night,
male
maybe he's
counterpart.
confused.
Well, I think he got confused because he thought
Now,
like,
isn't that
Never
just
Daily,
typical?
and I think he
The woman always talks a
thought-
big game,
I think he
and then
thinks
she
he's
needs her
playing
man
along.
to come in and back her up.
but he just blatantly
Jasper.
told some people. And
Oh, come now, you know it's true. The ex-wife, she'd get a
I just
couple of
don't wanna have a
cocktails in her at happy hour,
So you
she'd
can
start
just-
spouting
you want
off
me to
too,
handle it?
by God.
Yeah, just handle it. Just get him on. And, you know, he's a good guy. Just, just text him. I don't want to do it right
looked
now.
like a refrigerator with a head.
I mean, I don't want to say it's not his fault.
I feel bad because I
You know,
think
if I could go
he feels
back
like
in
he wants to be
time,
in
I
on it.
wouldn't have done a damn
Yeah,
thing.
well, I know.
Part of
I'd let
things.
Well,
justice
you
be
already
served by
asked me
that
to do
man,
it.
and you know what? She'd be better off for it.
I just don't want to deal with it. Yeah, just text him.
Oh, fine. I'm just saying there's not that much of a difference between the bitch in the dog world and human. Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Promise.
Wake up, it's blood,
Reach the wizard.
it's blood. Wake up,
Reach the wizard.
All right, there we go. Off air, we weren't sure because, my God, if looks could kill, he'll explain why.
Yeah, it's
at
bad.
Tim Kennedy MMA on the Twitter, all over the place. You're looking grumpy there, Timmy.
Yeah, this is as miserable as I get right here.
You were telling us
Bad
off
shape.
air. Yeah, your face looks all. You're looking like the machinist Christian Bale. For people who don't know, he has a big fight coming up in the UFC against Rashad Evans, one of the best light heavyweights of all time, and you are cutting down to 185. So you said your calories usually about 6,000 a day, and where are you now?
Well, right now I'm at like 600, but I'll finish the day off at 2,000. So yeah.
Gosh, what's your weight?
I'm 198, 199 right now. So 13 more pounds to go.
Do you find the one thing for me whenever I had to either cut any weight or do you find your sleep is the thing most affected? For me, if ever I'm on a calorie deficit, sleep is impossible.
No, I'm pretty disciplined and regimented about like the sleep thing.
Drugs.
You know, so that no drugs. Nice, healthy, good sleep. Little bit of sex. My biggest calorie meal is at the end of the day. So like all those good things for a guy to be able to sleep healthily.
All of our
normally.
listeners right now are going, I guess I'll have to masturbate. Continue.
Don't, Mr. Rogers. Just put that on. You're
Stop
out.
it. No, it's true, but sometimes in a calorie deficit, that performance issues can be at play. So good to hear.
Oh.
Timmy gets his. He gets his, Larry.
It's not easy. I mean, you're definitely spot on there. Like, look, when you lose your fats, when you lose your calories, when you work out. So I'm doing 3 or 4 workouts a day, 5 or 6 days a week. One day I have a 2-day workout. Libido's crushed. You're just like, man, I have a super hot wife, but I just want to sleep.
Yeah, I know.
Is that weird?
And then you start reading men's magazines. Am I gay?
Then you rally. But you rally.
Yes,
That's the
exactly.
important part.
You rally like Trump in the election now. We'll get to the election stuff, but before we do, so you're fighting Rashad Evans. We didn't know if you were going to fight in the UFC again last time you were on this program. I'd like to think we introduced you to the conservative fold because a lot of people didn't really know.
No.
But you were like, I don't know if I'm
On
going to
the
fight in the
radar
UFC. What changed?
Opportunity. I still am not thrilled about coming back to fighting. You know, everything hurts right now.
Yeah.
I like being 220, 230 pounds. I like shooting guns every day. I like being on my motorcycle, like barbecue. I like, you know, having a brain that works when I'm not, you know, 30 pounds lighter than I should be.
In a matter of speaking.
So I miss all the normal fun parts of life right now.
Right.
This was a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
This is the biggest fight card in UFC history. This is the first fight card ever to happen in the state of New York, and it is happening at Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
So this, you know, it's historical.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but I did a big video on this a long time ago. I interviewed Chael and worked with the people at the UFC and trying to get it legalized in New York.
Mhm.
And a lot of
It's
people
a
don't realize
big deal.
it was a fight against the Culinary Union.
Yeah.
And I did a show in Albany, New York, and that what's his name? Not Sheldon Silver, the other guy who was like, the thing is, it's violent. He called in to a local radio show in Albany to debate with me why MMA shouldn't be legal, and I just tore him apart, and he just hung up. And now it's a big thing. People don't realize politically it shows you how much power the unions wield. Really quick for people who don't know, the Culinary Union hated the Fertittas who own the UFC because they own the biggest non-union gaming casinos in Vegas, and they threw their political weight around in New York. And now they've come to some. That's the general timeline for people who don't know, right?
Yeah, pretty much that's it exactly. You know, the last state in our beautiful union to allow MMA legally to happen is the state of New York. And the only reason that didn't happen sooner was that the unions there were preventing it from happening.
Right. Which is kind of a sore spot, because you've talked about this, and I don't want to. Well, you're pretty outspoken. I don't think we'll get you into any trouble. You've talked about how the UFC needs to do some things, and even though as a conservative you're not really pro-union, there were some issues that a lot of fighters came together to deal with the UFC. So it's like, well, I don't want to deal with the Culinary Union, but the UFC did have some issues with a lot of fighters. Now they've sold for, was it 4.2 billion?
4.2 billion.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. So monumental. You're gonna win?
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to win. You know, the last piece of the puzzle about kind of why I came back was the current champion is Michael Bisping.
This is true, and you beat the brakes off him.
I did. That's exactly how I phrase it usually. You know,
That's how you
people
said it on our show. I stole your phrase.
That's it's an old person line, and I like it. My grandpa used to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 25 minutes, I humiliated Michael Bisping, and he is the current UFC middleweight champion.
Yeah.
And that is an insult to every barrel-chested freedom fighter that, you know, like, is proud to be American, that we have Michael Bisping as the champion.
Yeah.
So, you know, in addition to being at Madison Square Garden, in addition to fighting Rashad Evans, this first fight in New York, you know, a win here. My only loss in the UFC is a super controversial one to Yoel Romero.
Yep.
So this, you know, a big win here, I think could propel really into a title contention. And that would be, you know, the easiest fight in the entire division is against Michael Bisping, the champion.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if I get to hopscotch, you know, a couple of dudes that are ranked ahead of me and be able to fight Michael Bisping, you know, now Tim Kennedy has the UFC light heavyweight champion.
We were talking about this when Chael was on, and he actually, I don't know if we talked about it on air. He said, smart money would be on Tim on that. He said, yeah, Tim is just if you look. And I think he even said he scored, I don't know if it was the Jacare fight for you, but he had a lot of kind of stuff to say on the fighting side. And he was like, well, you know, he just can't get out of his own way with the UFC and the talking. And I was like, well, you know, I think he'd be the first to admit that. That's probably why you haven't been in the cage. You know, it's no secret.
No, totally true there.
Yes. So, well, good. Yeah, this is a big fight for people who don't know, and it's a big issue. And there's a lot of politics at play with the unions and the sale of the UFC, and for Tim to be able to fight, of course, you know, American. I guess you'd say American war hero. We don't like to laud the praise on people. So Michael Bisping has gone and entertained the troops. Like, he seems like he's grown up a little bit.
No, I don't know. I don't like to, you know, I'm gonna have to disagree with you here.
Okay.
No, I think he's the same child of an athlete that he's always been. You know, he's an entitled professional athlete.
Okay.
I don't think he's ever developed as a fighter. And somebody that only is a professional athlete, you see it in the NFL. Fortunately, it hasn't really been that contagious, like a virus that has gone into too many other sports. But you see these entitled little rich brats that forget what the real world is like.
Mm-hmm.
Michael's another one of those.
Really,
I mean,
rich? I mean, he fought for 10 years. You know, he's paid his dues.
Yeah, I mean, and he makes great money now. He has championship money. You know, he's not poor, but I'm referring to the entitled professional athlete element.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Still don't like him.
No, still don't like him. All right, I'm just saying that I couldn't stand him, and I was there live for his fight against Chael, and I remember I just really didn't like him, but he's grown on me somewhat. Of course I'll be rooting for you. Let me ask you this. Is it less sweet of a victory if you beat Rashad Evans, because it does seem like he's had a little bit of a mental issue lately?
No,
you just take the win regardless. How do you feel about Rashad? Do you like him, or do you think he's an entitled athlete?
He's been a professional. He's been an athlete for 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm not. He's moving down to a new weight class. He's a former light heavyweight champion, a perennial contender. He's been in the top 10 in the UFC light heavyweight division for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really, really good. Before that, an amazing collegiate wrestler. Ultimate Fighter winner of the TV show. He's really good.
Yeah.
So he's coming down to 185 for the first time. And I think that this is going to be the first and the best version of Rashad that we've seen in maybe 5-6 years.
Yeah.
He's going to be faster. He's going to be lighter. He's going to have better cardio. And I think those have been some of the things that maybe deteriorated when he got a little bit comfortable wearing a suit and being behind a microphone.
It's true.
Was that he didn't have to work hard to make 205. He's going to have to work hard to make 185.
That's true. But there's also a different dynamic at play, because he's probably #I'm with her, and I think you're on the Trump train. Now that you're all dehydrated and you're running low on food, you got to make sure you don't pull the wrong lever there in Texas.
Yeah, you have no worries about how I'm going to vote.
Well, okay, we can pivot to that, because last time you were on this show, you said think about who could this was when they were still in the primaries. Think about who could be president, and think about killing yourself. So we know that applied to Hillary Clinton, but I think you were a Rand Paul guy, if I'm not mistaken.
I was, yeah.
So then where are you on the Trump situation? I know you're obviously more pro him than Hillary, but was he among the kill yourself prospects for you?
He was, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, a year ago when or not even 8 months ago when you looked at the potential candidates, I was just like, man, in 8 months from now, there's a meme that's going around and it shows like these two guys. Why, when we're in our concentration camps, hopefully we can still be friends. And then the second part is it shows a bunch of kids from Red Dawn, and they're like, no, I have different plans for the internment camps.
Yeah.
Trump and Hillary kind of were my worst nightmares for the two potential candidates.
Yeah.
And just this week, Donald Trump came here to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I had the opportunity to speak at his rally and talk to him, shake his hand, take some pictures with him. But I went there like a little negative Nancy.
Well, hold on. You couldn't have been that negative, Nancy, because they would have planned to have you speak. They didn't just come on up here, Timmy.
Their PR person, and I didn't speak pro Donald. I was there to talk about the American flag.
Okay.
I said the Pledge of Allegiance for everybody and led them in that. But before that, I talked about why the flag was important and why America is still something meaningful to me. It wasn't until...
How dare you?
I know.
The nerve.
Lock him up.
It wasn't until I got to the end of the night where I was able to put together, I had a lot of emotion. I did not want to be there. I hate politicians.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first real political rally I've ever been to when I'm not working, when I haven't had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
In 15 years, I've been to them, working for President Obama, counter sniper details, all sorts of things. This was the first time where I was there looking and listening.
Yeah.
And I was floored. I was impressed by his entire staff. I was impressed by his sincerity. I was super. At the end of the night, I was confused because I was mad that I was there. I was upset that I was going in the first place, and then I was confused why I was so impressed with not the production, but I talked to one of his staff members, and his staff member was like, this is the company that I work for. I'm like, well, then how did you come and do this? He's like, well, Donald Trump hired me and he offered me 10% over what I was making before. Like, why would he do that? He's like, well, because I was the best at what I did.
Mm.
And just person after person was like that. I wanted to be part of something bigger and greater than myself, or I'm the best at what I did, and he poached me from the company that I worked at. It was one of the two. And either way, that is fantastic. That's the type of people I want to work for, and those are the type of people that I hire to run my companies.
Did anyone force themselves on you?
No, but somebody tried to grab my pussy.
Yeah, well, I figured. That's when you wear those short shorts. Oh, I think we lost video with Tiberius.
No, I'm back.
He's right back drinking his coconut oil coffee. Well, you know what? I'm glad to hear that, and we have another segment. We can get into more what's happening with the election. Specifically, I feel that the dynamics have changed on the military with the right and the left. The code pink tends to be in the Trump camp. I got a lot of memes. These kids died for nothing. Your daughters could be drafted to die for Israel, and then it says, vote Trump. I'm going, well, this is just a little weird. It could be just some outliers, but it seems like there's been a swap. And I'm interested to hear military perspective on that, if we think that maybe there's a not only a realigning with sort of middle-class voters, but who the military seems to support. Although they've always supported Republic. I don't know. I know they're not huge fans of Barack Obama. When I went to entertain the troops, they're like, I can't say this on air, but you know what? He's not my favorite. All right, Tim Kennedy at Tim Kennedy MMA. We will talk about this after the break. And he's dehydrated, so let's hope he doesn't faint.
All right, Mr. Crowder, what seems to be the problem?
I have the sore throat, and the nose is all scratchy, and the rectal bleeding.
Okay, just a thought. You forgot to subscribe to the Louder Powder podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. It's free. You can take it with you on the go.
Well, that's a remarkable value, but how does that help me now?
It doesn't. You'll be here a while. Cheers.
And I don't want nobody. Want nobody, and I don't want nobody. You got that right. And I don't want nobody. I lost. Want nobody, and I don't want nobody. Jail never need. You got that right. And I don't want nobody.
Glad to be back. That is Pogo, of course. Does all the intros, outros. Love Pogo.
I call that the ghetto robot, by the way.
Ghetto robot. That's racist. Next guest.
Probably more clever name in there somewhere.
At Tim Kennedy MMA on the Twitter. Glad to have you back, sir. So I've noticed, Donald Trump against the wars in Iraq. Very, very passionately so. Some people have tried to say he was for the wars. I would say he's telling the truth when he says he was against the wars. A lot of his supporters, they've switched. Like I've noticed this sort of code pink side on the right where they're saying no more wars, no more needless wars, pulling us out. Do you agree with that? And do you think that's more kind of mainstream republicanism? How does a military or someone like you feel about this election?
All right. So, God, I hate using one of his taglines, but damn, it's about winning. What he's saying. He's not
Charlie
saying.
Sheen.
Yeah, he's not saying pull out, or he's not saying remove. What he said the other night was, if we're going to be in a war, if we're going to be in Iraq, if we're going to fight ISIS, if we're going to be in Syria, if we're going to be in Pakistan, if we're going to be in North Africa, we're going there to win. So it's no longer we're sending troops over there to sustain some level of democracy that's going to be diminishing over time and costing taxpayers billions and billions and billions of dollars. We're going to go kick ass, and then we're going to leave.
Yeah.
I like that part.
I agree with that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
you noticed that there is some sentiment, maybe from more new sort of, I guess, populists of the movement who are like, oh, these needless wars and these people died in vain. That was kind of pretty big in the Bush years. I know last time you were on, you're like, well, no. Do you feel that that's a small faction? Have you noticed kind of that the tables turn, right, where Hillary's a little more, almost in a way, pro kind of our troops abroad? Which some would say, war hawk, and they don't like, and I agree with them.
I think that Mr. Trump would support the military more financially and with better and more clever and more intelligent ways than Hillary Clinton would.
Yeah.
I also think that Donald Trump would not be throwing us into harm's way to make a buck. He's not part of and hasn't been part of this huge, gigantic trillion-dollar industry, which is the American war machine, which she has been. If you look at the kickbacks that she's always gotten, she likes war. She makes lots and lots of money off of it.
Yeah.
Whether she's Secretary of State or her husband is president, it's always gonna be and has been about
Role
making
playing
more
in
money.
her lesbian sex dungeon. It's always about violence in some degree. I'm convinced. So, who must have beard? So, do you think that, or I guess, sort of Iraq, do you think those were wars for money for the military establishment?
Yes, to a degree.
Okay.
I think that a bunch of radical Islamists came and attacked our country, and we went over there to kick ass. We started doing that, and then at some point, it shifted. It changed.
Okay.
There's no money in Afghanistan. There's no resources. There's nothing there for us to be fighting over. So the only reasons that we would be there is either to spend money on military stuff or to try to slow down the growth of the radicals and the Islamists that were there.
Right.
Which we did to a degree, and for a while that's what we were doing. But then things changed, where now we're just buying $4 million vehicles and leaving them over there just for the sake of buying them.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I want to go over there. I want to put bad guys in the ground. I want to protect innocent people, and I want to protect freedom.
Yeah.
That's what I came to do, and that's what I was trained to do. I'm not there to why don't you just shoot some extra rounds or use that rocket because it's more expensive, because that's what they want us to do.
Right. So it becomes
That's
like any
crazy.
government bureaucracy where at a certain point it's like, all right, baseline budgeting, we got to run out the ammo boxes, and let's go back and toss a few names on our belt. Haji, we got him. Let me ask you this. What do you think about Russia? Do you think Russia, right now it's become another central point? A lot of people thought Obama was weak on Russia, and now they're saying, obviously Hillary Clinton is very anti-Russia, Donald Trump more pro-Russia. Where do you line up on that?
Man, it's kind of convoluted and misconstrued. They're lobbing kind of unfounded accusations at each other. It's like, this leak from the DNC came from Russia, and then you're like, then you later found out that it had nothing to do with Russia. It was actually a mole inside of the DNC that was releasing the information. But why Hillary would blame Russia for hacking into the DNC to show that they were themselves cheating in the election, like poor Bernie Sanders, he just got hosed.
Yeah, I don't feel too bad for him. He got hosed, like they stole the election. Well, now you know what theft feels like.
It's I don't know, kind of like when we're looking for the communists, in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, we're like, oh no, you're in Hollywood, are you a commie?
Yeah.
It's like blame the Russians for everything. Like, no, we have enough problems ourselves. We have an election that might be seriously rigged. We might have hackers that are doing the only real form of journalism.
But
Not even might.
I have
Actually,
read
I
that
think
17 intelligence agencies did say in some capacity some of these hacks likely came from Russia. So I believe probably some of them, not all of them. One of them was for sure, I think, a DNC leak. Wouldn't you say there's probably a strong possibility that at least someone over there did some of the hacking?
Maybe some of it, but the hacking is releasing the truth. So are we going to blame – do we seriously need Russia or a bunch of anonymous or WikiLeaks to hack into our political system so we the people, can finally find the truth? That's pathetic. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, how about we just get the truth and then we make an educated vote about who the best person is to represent our country? But that's not it takes foreign governments and hacker groups to be able to tell us what the hell is going on.
So do you think there's been a change where the military used to be pretty, they did not like Julian Assange, and now they're like, well, maybe he's doing the Lord's work?
Yeah, for sure.
You do think there's been that change?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hated that guy. 6 years ago, I was like, what a weirdo. It's like, is he a rapist? Is he like, he definitely can't come around my kids? And now I'm like, come on, Julian, just release one more. Just one more.
We have to let you go. Maybe we'll do a web extended here. So he does not hate Julian Assange anymore, but no love lost for Michael Bisping. I can't figure this guy out. At Tim Kennedy, MMA. Eat a sandwich, you miserable prick.
11 days.
No, 11 days. We'll be back.
Oh, hey, it's me. Live read time. You don't see me do a lot of these. This promotion is going to be ending actually relatively soon, right? Right, Jared?
I think so.
Not a whole bunch
Running
more
out of time.
Preparewithcr.com. You've heard us talk about it. Last week we talked about the ice storm. My dad was on to talk about it. The promotion is for viewers of this show, $99 for a 30-day emergency food supply kit, shipped free. You can look around. It's a better deal. We're not talking about some crazy doomsday. We're not preppers. I talked about the ice storm that I lived through. I was just thinking about it. There are a bunch in our time. Hurricane, right? You have Sandy. You would have Hurricane Katrina.
Hurricane Matthew just happened.
Matthew.
Matthew.
Not plural.
Hughes.
Matthew.
My grandparents lost power. A lot of people lost power.
Yeah.
Just in that.
Yeah, and you could do the same. Preparewithcr.com is where you get it. $99 shipped free. You could do the same thing. We're just talking about basic emergency food in case you lose power. A lot of times, if there's a natural disaster, food can't come in or out. It's just economics, and it comes to how the roads work. In Canada, no planes could land, so you could do stocking up on cans and some water and stuff. It'd be more expensive. It'd probably take up more space. What I liked about this, because I'm lazy, is it's just in a box. $99 shipped free from preparewithcr.com. My brother, funny enough, so he's in Los Angeles, and he works in film. I can't use his name. If I use it, it would be hilarious. It's this film actor. I hate to say B-list to insult him, but everyone would know who he is.
Exactly.
And really nice guy. And my brother was in LA, and he opened up, and he's not a conservative, he's more liberal, and he opened up his trunk, and he had, maybe he didn't have a shotgun, but he had like an axe, flashlight, basic food. I was like, what's
Stuff
that?
You're like, holy crap.
Yeah, I remember it was like,
This
what
guy,
that?
what?
He said, oh yeah. He said, I was here for the Los Angeles earthquakes. It was crazy. You couldn't get anything. So everyone has this. He was like, what, you don't have it? And so my brother just has that basic crank flashlight and stuff, and he got the kit from preparewithcr.com because it's $99. He lives in a small apartment, as everyone does in LA. He can fit it in a closet. So listen, they've been a great sponsor to the show. People have been really happy with it. Preparewithcr.com. They're going to be running out soon. So go and get yours if you want to be. If you don't, you don't have to. We're not forcing you to.
Don't come to our houses.
Do not come to our houses, because we'll be protecting it with our firearms, who will hopefully be another sponsor sometime soon. Preparewithcr.com. $99. 30-day emergency food supply kit. 140 servings. Shipped free. Easy, and I'm lazy. If you're lazy like me, just toss it somewhere in a damp closet, like where I keep Not Gay Jared, and you're good to go. Glad to be back. We will have James O'Keefe on after the break, talking about his latest sting, maybe leaking some future stings going on.
Yeah. And apologies to anybody hearing crackling in the microphone stuff. If only we had a better studio.
If only we had a better studio. As a matter of fact, the reason you may be hearing some technical difficulties this week could be because we've had to get rid of some things because of a transition to someplace. So just forgive us if it sounds a little bit different, if it looks a little bit different. Bear with us here. But in order to be consistent...
If I look different, it's because I'm not aging gracefully.
Yeah,
it has something to do with
you need
transition.
to adjust your mic so you're not talking right into it. I don't know how you have it. No. You need to talk into it like a phone receiver. You need to have it at an angle, not talking into it directly.
This is like an art.
Pop. It does that, and then you move to the side. Poppity pop. Yeah, no, it's still bad. You're just awful. God hates
it's the
you.
voice. It's here.
God hates
That's
you.
the problem.
I don't know why. God's not supposed to hate. We have a segment. You know this segment. You love this segment. It's when we can't do an entire segment on these stories, but they're so absurd we had to fit them in for the week. Here we go.
Oh, dear God!
This week in social justice warrior outrage. So there's a lot to get to. One of the articles that we wrote about that went viral. So Vox, Jared has the image up here. Vox did this sort of experiment, or they wrote about this experiment, male birth control injections. So it said, in their defense, here the headline reads, "We still do not have male birth control, but no, it's not because men are wimps."
It was trending all over the place.
It was trending all over the place, although the reaction was, it's because men are wimps. The women. 320 men who participated in the research reported a whopping 1,491 adverse effects. Nearly a quarter experienced pain at the injection site, nearly half got acne, more than 20% had a mood disorder, and 15% reported muscle pain. Other side effects included testicular pain, night sweats, and confusion. One study participant died by suicide in the fine print. So they said, you know what? So this is just, and it was worse for men than for women. Two things. I've heard women. I actually talked with a waitress at Buffalo Wild Wings today, saying, well, why aren't men using birth control? Why is it our responsibility? You know why?
Hold on.
Because of feminism.
You got Buffalo Wild Wings before the show again.
I did. I figured
you always do this. It's always a mistake.
It's always a mistake, but I'm fine. I feel great. I have an iron gut right now. I've conditioned it.
You conditioned it.
It's dead inside.
It's dead inside. It's just melted.
It's dead inside like Hillary's conscience. So, and she was like, well, why do women have to do birth control? You know why? Because of feminism. They wanted you to get birth control so that you could be in control of propagating the species. You now have that control. Congratulations. So men, they say they had far worse effects than women, right? We get it. Birth control, estrogen modulation. Yet Vox supports directly injecting estrogen into men when they claim that they're a tranny. This is one of the big ironies. How I have talked about this time and time again, and we've talked about this, that they're actually, the brain changes occur after hormone replacement therapy. We've talked about it with psychiatrists. People just say you're hateful. So if you're talking about birth control, which is nowhere near as severe as hormone replacement therapy with estrogen for men, do you have any idea how horrible and toxic that is? The only difference is here, it suits the narrative for Vox to say, well, you know what? Yeah, men birth control, so women handle it better. So it's good for women to do birth control, not men. It doesn't suit their narrative when you say, well, what about estrogen directly injected into their testicles, however? Well, no. The jury's still out. No, depression. They talk about suicide in this study. Suicide is sky high in the transgender community, and it doesn't get better after cross-sex hormone replacement therapy. It gets worse in some studies. This is why doctors are against it. This is why John Hopkins was against it. They've come out and said there is no evidence that you are born into the wrong body. This is harmful. Let me give you some symptoms for estrogen, high estrogen in men to look for yourself. It's not a good thing. Estrogen is toxic in high levels in men. Sexual dysfunction, enlarged breasts, lower urinary tract symptoms associated with benign prostatic hyperplasia. That means you have a big prostate, the size of a grapefruit. Increased abdominal fat, feeling tired, loss of muscle mass, type 2 diabetes, emotional disturbances, especially depression. So those are usually far more severe when you're injecting exogenous estrogen into your body. If it's not even your own estrogen, it's that much worse. And we all turn a blind eye in the name of political correctness. We are putting these trannies in shallow, cancerous, estrogen-filled graves, and we do so in the name of tolerance. This is the perfect example. Leftist supply motive. No, I'm not against giving children hormone replacement therapy. I'm not against giving transgenders that as a first line of defense. I'm not for psychiatric evaluations and maybe treating it as a mental condition because I hate them. It's because I don't want to happen exactly what happens when you put estrogen into men. Is that fair?
Someone would call the comparisons and similarities striking.
Striking, almost.
The male birth control and the old tranny doses.
That's what I just did.
I know.
You didn't have anything to add. You just wanted to hear yourself talk.
I did.
Okay.
I like my voice.
Okay, next story. Number two. Bud Light cancels the Seth Rogen, Amy Schumer campaign. Well, this is a surprise. This is one where Seth Rogen says, what? Women can be paid less for the exact same job? And Amy Schumer says, vagina. That's pretty much what these bits were. It was pushed, like, who'd have thought that promoting Bud Light, which is a horrible beer that's typically only consumed by frat douches and absolute morons who don't understand that there's better beer, people who are easily manipulated by marketing. Sorry, Bud Light is the worst beer on the planet. I mean worse than PBR. I mean worse than Stroh's, than Bottom Shelf. There's actually cheap beer that's decent. Bud Light is horrible, and you pay more for that stupid aluminum bottle, which used to be called a can. Remember we had aluminum cans? That's bad for the environment. Let's do glass bottles. And glass bottles, that's worse for the environment. Let's go to aluminum bottles. It's a can shaped as a bottle. But who'd have thought...
But at least there's no estrogen in that bottle.
At least there's no estrogen in that bottle. That's because of the BPA lining in cans. Oh my gosh. But who'd have thought, think about this. I wrote about this at Louder with Crowder when the campaign launched. This is going to backfire. Trying to push white male guilt privilege while selling Bud Light, whose demographic is almost exclusively men. What could go wrong there? And something else really telling about this, if you look at the numbers, craft beer is taking a much more significant portion of the marketplace. That's a generational change where kids want to have more of the lifestyle their grandparents had. There's that middle generation where everything was mass consumed. Let's keep it cheap. Let's keep it easy off a factory line. Your grandparents, likely a lot of them made their own beer.
Yeah.
A lot of them actually had local beer because they didn't have the same kind of mass distribution, or your great-grandparents. Then it went, everyone drank Schlitz for a while. Then they had a contamination. This is some beer history. Schlitz was the #1 beer in the country until they had one active contamination, and it ruined the brand. Bud Light took it over, and now more and more kids...
Bud Light is a contamination.
Yeah, Bud Light is a contamination. Straight Budweiser is not bad.
Here's the question. When do the airlines catch up with the trend of non-crappy with capital S beer on their flights?
Well, they
That
are
would be
now.
nice.
They'll do like Sam Adams.
I'll see Fat Tire every once in a
I'll
while,
see
which
Fat
is a little
Tire.
less
Yep.
offensive. But
Anyway,
got
the
a ways to
campaign
go.
down in the crapper, and beer sales actually declined. We're gonna start an expensive ad campaign with 2 A-listers in the loosest sense of the word: Amy Vagina Joke Schumer and Seth I'm Not Fat But Still Make Fat Jokes Rogan. Let's see, and sales are down. Let's stop this. Let's stop this right now. We would have done better with a Facebook post or a YouTube video. Can we get the dramatic hamster in here humping a Bud Light bottle? Something's got to be better than this. Last one, because we just thought this was so funny. So of course people were outraged. Amy Schumer, you go girl, whatever. Lil Wayne triggered everyone on Twitter this week. I love it. Lil Wayne, of course, we talked about this. Black Lives Matter was asked about it, and he said, "No, I don't agree with them. I think that black people, white people have overwhelmingly accepted me." And then they doubled down. Do we have it timed?
Yep.
They doubled down and asked him in a follow-up on the outrage to his initial comments, and this is how he responded.
What's your thought on Black Lives Matter?
What is it? What do you mean?
The idea is that there's this movement called
He's
Black
so
Lives
high.
Matter, thinking that the rest of America didn't seem to understand that Black Lives Matter.
It just sounds weird. I don't know that you put a name on. It's not a name. It's not whatever. It's somebody got shot by police and for up reason. I am a young, black, rich. If that don't let you know that America understands Black matter these days, I don't know what it is. Don't come at me with that dumb man. My life matter, especially to my.
Especially to my bitches.
Damn it,
And
to my
he
bitches.
gets off the interview. He just walked off. So here's the deal. It wasn't an accident. That's what it tells me about Lil Wayne. I bet you behind closed doors, Lil Wayne's a Trump fan, and he's tired of the professional victimhood. I bet you behind closed doors, you get Lil Wayne ranting. I mean, obviously his inhibitions were lowered here, but I bet you behind closed doors, you get Lil Wayne going. He's, I'm tired of Black Lives Matter, man. I make money. It's all white girls show up to my concert. Don't come up me down here with that dumb mother. He does not have any tolerance for it, and I often wonder that. When you have really
That accent's
overwhelmingly...
problematic, by the way.
It is problematic. I just appropriated Lil Wayne's culture. Next thing, I'm going to get a tear tattoo. Why haven't gang members shot him, by the way? Because he has all those tattoos, which typically, you only get if you have a hit. I don't get that either. If a gang member has a tattoo below his eye, why don't they just jail him?
Yeah.
Like, well, we know you did something. Just get a warrant.
I had a guy show up at my house one time for help with something, and I noticed that. I was like, hey, yeah, I'll help you fill up your car.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Yeah. What? It's because I'm black? No, it's because you have a tattoo that signifies you've murdered somebody. Generally, that gives me apprehension.
That's a little bit problematic as well.
Yes, that is a little bit problematic. Well, you just hate my culture? Let's go with that. Yeah, I have a problem with that culture of the gang the Piero tattoo that means you whacked somebody.
I do.
But Lil Wayne, I wonder that with a lot of you have people who peel back the curtain with Larry Elder or Tommy Sotomayor. People who are successful, black people, but particularly people like Lil Wayne who've made their success almost entirely from white people. Capitalism, again, compassionately, voluntarily supporting Lil Wayne with their dollar. To me, there couldn't be any more beautiful, simple, distilled example of bridging the racial divide.
Same thing with Prince. Did you hear he died?
Let's keep going on like this is going really well. I was saying something that was, compassionate. It was helping people. About Prince. Now people are going to get mad at you.
I didn't catch it.
Seriously, though, that's the thing with capitalism. People will take it. It's corporate greed, and they'll take something beautiful and they'll pervert it. Well, that's beautiful. A bunch of white teeny boppers are willingly giving a black man their money because they appreciate his creative genius.
Probably other things.
That's fantastic. James O'Keefe coming up next. Stay tuned. Or you're racist.
He's not black.
And now, Donna Brazil seeks work. Mrs. Brazil, please take a seat.
Thank you.
Yes, we're going to have to let you go.
I don't even know why, though.
Well, I was made aware that during your tenure here at Surprise Parties Incorporated, you were notifying all our clients of the impending surprise parties.
I don't even have to be persecuted, though.
Miss Brazil, you are not being persecuted. You understand that as a surprise party planner, the main functional purpose of your role is to ensure that the party remains a surprise.
I thought it would help them if I let them know, though.
Well, we're aware of that, as we've seen that you've emailed not only the people hosting the surprise parties, but all of their subsequent guests as well.
I let them know.
You do understand the name Surprise Parties Incorporated is in the name. Our slogan is, "You'll be so surprised."
They got a right to know.
No, Miss Brazil, as a matter of fact, they don't have the right to know. They actually hire us to ensure that nobody knows. That's the purpose of a surprise party.
Even the apostles were persecuted.
Yeah, I feel like we're missing each other here, but we're going to have to let you go regardless.
But how'd you even find out, though?
Miss Brazil, you CC'd all of us.
Shoo.
Stay tuned for more. Donna Brazil seeks work. Opera, quiet down. That's a horrible way to introduce a guest. The dog going
That is terrible.
nuts. It's very unprofessional.
He hates the dance.
You've seen his videos all over the place. They've probably impacted the outcome of this election. He's been on the show before, though this time it doesn't look like he's broadcasting from the bottom of Jeffrey Dahmer's well. James O'Keefe, ProjectVeritasAction.com. Thanks for being with us, brother.
Hey, thanks. I think when I was broadcasting the last time, I was at CPAC on a balcony.
Yeah.
And I was doing it through my phone, which is why it looked like I was on the bottom of a well.
Well, I think you might have preferred Jeffrey Dahmer's well, anyone who's been at CPAC at that point. Certainly by the end of it, everyone gets sick, the CPAC plague.
Yes.
Okay, listen, let me, for those, obviously, most people know about it. Jared, we have this clip?
Yep.
Let's roll the clip of your latest video so we can provide some context. Hit it, Jared.
You know the Sonder Commando?
Yes.
Jewish guards who in effect help murder Jews in the camp so they can live alone. So there were even Jews who were helping the Nazis murder Jews.
Same thing?
So blacks who are sort of helping the other side, they're equally fucked in the United States. They just see that.
All right. So you're going to have to hit the dump button there for terrestrial, Jared.
Dump button for terrestrial.
You got your work cut out for you. James, now, first let me ask, is this the last in the series of tapes you've been releasing for this election? Is this kind of the crescendo?
No, we have actually tapes we're releasing like today, tomorrow, and Monday, and Tuesday. And so this is not the last one, although we had a press conference yesterday in North Carolina featuring the video you just saw of this guy comparing black people to Nazis and saying that they're effed in the head if they don't agree with certain politics. And it's prompted the senator who's running, this is like the most contested Senate race in North Carolina. It's a very tight race in North Carolina. In fact, Trump and Hillary running neck and neck. It's prompted the Democratic Senate candidate to return that guy's money. And there's a whole bunch of drama there, which I can talk about. But no, we have videos coming out every day. We sort of have this trove of videos that we've held on to for about a year,
right?
And we're releasing them right now.
I know you can't give us too much of a sneak preview. Would you say anything more damning is the best yet to come, or is it just sort of you're just going to keep dripping it?
We're just going to keep dripping it, but the way we work is that we've had a dozen people working full time, sometimes inside of these different campaigns, embedded as interns, as overseas financial contributors, as donors, as political consultants, and they built relationships. So some of these things are like literally just inside the campaign. Some of these things are at their private fundraisers, because we believe that people are going to be more honest, and it's important for a democracy to show what's actually people actually think and believe about their constituents, and how it sometimes opposes what their views are. So
Yeah.
a lot of this is Senate races and congressional races stuff that we're releasing over the next few days.
I do the same thing, except I send in Jean-Guy and his journey for Bernie. He spent 9 hours at a Bernie Sanders rally. They rolled him right up to Bernie Sanders, and no one suspected. Of course, we just did it for gags. So it's effective in its own right, but, you know, you can do it to make a little bit more of an impact. Okay, full honesty here. The election fraud one was big. The rally one, I will say, when I watched this, I thought, okay, because in the context, he's basically saying, well, listen, black people who vote Republican are voting against their own self-interest. It's effed in the head for them to do that.
Right.
That doesn't seem as big of a controversy to me as the other videos. Why do you think this one's so important? Or was it strategic because geographically, you know, North Carolina is so important?
Well, I think it was, I mean, I think they all have different purposes. It probably wasn't as big of an impact as the other ones, but I think this one, it just shows what people actually think and feel about their constituents. We showed it to African Americans in North Carolina, and they were outraged, and it's very powerful. If you look at the video, the guy goes, so that's what they actually think about us. It's prompted a reaction from the senator, but the reason what happened was yesterday, the day before yesterday, Senator Ross, this is a Senate candidate in North Carolina, she was on CNN talking about a hidden camera, hidden audio that the Republicans, of the Republican candidate, saying, let's go to target practice and like shoot at Hillary's face. And this was like a hidden audio of his staff. So she was all over TV talking about this. It was on CNN. It was on the front page.
How is that hidden? I've seen those targets at the gun range.
Right.
So, like next to zombies and Bin Laden, you've got Hillary. It's wide open.
Right. So he's talking about, let's go play target practice and Hillary. So this was 24 hours before this video came out. So it's sort of a guerrilla warfare that Veritas is engaged in because the media is just having a field day. Mainstream media is talking about this audio tape so that 24 hours later we release our audio tape showing, you know, someone within the other side doing something that's compromising and probably far more inflammatory, right? So a lot of the stuff Veritas does on the state level, a lot of stuff is on the local level. Doesn't mean it needs to be national news everywhere. It means that we get thousands of tips across the country. You need to come to my municipality or my state and expose this thing. But it certainly is relevant because the media has one standard for Hillary target practice. And of course, on this video, they don't want to play it at all because it's very damaging. But she did return the money.
Well,
she did return the money, and there's some more coming.
Well, hopefully we get Hillary to return all the money from Qatar, but I think Clock Boy's already spent it on a new Philips wake-up clock.
I heard Haiti's looking for some.
I heard Haiti's looking for
some stuff.
They're just praying there's not another earthquake and Bill shows up. Well, you know, do you think at a certain point though, because some of the videos that you've released, like I said, I'm just being fully like this one wasn't. I watched it and I was like, I get that's important more in North Carolina. The other ones that I saw we covered, you know, had a much bigger reaction. I think on a national scale, like you said, and I understand there's strategy behind it. Do you think though that sometimes what you do falls more on deaf ears because of the clickbait culture? Because everything's a scandal, everything's a blow up, and so when there is actually something that's pivotal that you do, it doesn't cut through. For example, like when Acorn happened. Everyone had to talk about it because no one was doing it. Now you have so many people faking scandals or both on the right and the left. Does that make your job harder?
That's an interesting question. I haven't actually been. I've been asked a lot of questions. I haven't been asked that one. And what I think is that there is certainly a lot of marketing of content or lack of content. It's a marketing around hype and you know, Veritas is and you have actually one of the few people in media who actually do hidden camera stuff. I especially like the hidden camera one you did in Canada a few years back when you went to the medical facilities in Canada. So there aren't a lot of people doing this type of work, but I like to say content is king, right? I like to say content is king because content is everything. Catching people in the act, catching people on tape, the WikiLeaks stuff. It's text only. It's words, and those are important. But people are not going to respond. People are not going to change their minds, change hearts and minds without seeing and smelling and hearing something. So video, we try to catch people in the act. But listen, the thing that makes it different, the thing that pushes it over the edge.
Hold on one second. Let me bring you back for just a couple minutes so you can finish that thought after this segment. James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, Action.com. Stay tuned, or he's going to sting you with a GoPro.
That's not nice.
In your bathroom.
Ooh.
I think that's illegal.
Ooh.
That's a violation.
That's a violation.
This week with Principal Podesta. American taxpayer, I think I owe you an apology, sir.
Well, I should say you do.
Well,
I think you should be sorry, for cripes' sake. An FBI investigation's opened on your candidate, and you insult us. What the hell's the matter with you, anyway?
I don't know, sir. I'm sorry. I didn't think you knew about it, sir. I never would deliberately insult your intelligence if I knew that you knew, sir.
Pardon my French, Podesta, but you're an asshole.
You're absolutely right, sir. You've hit the nail right on the head. Find out who did WikiLeaks.
This isn't over yet, Podesta. Do you read me?
Loud and clear, Mr. Taxpayer.
Call me sir, gosh damn it.
Yes, sir.
No, not the Russians.
That's better. Now you just mind your P's and Q's, Podesta, and remember who you're dealing with.
Voter. American voter. Stay tuned for more. Principal Podesta. Glad to be back. Serious folks, serious videos, serious journalist. Project Veritas Action.com, because there's ProjectVeritas.com, and different verticals. So I want to make sure we get this right. James, yeah, you were talking about that. Video doesn't lie. And I know, I did the Canadian healthcare thing. It was just kind of a little bit before what you did with Acorn. My goal was never political activism in the same way. It was just I was raised in Canada, and I remember this was Michael Moore doing his film Sicko. And they were praising Canadian healthcare, and I just said, well, that's not true. And I worked with PJTV. I said, well, I want to just go show people. I know what this is like. Let me just show them what Canadian healthcare is like. And back then, they didn't even know how to do hidden cameras. I remember we wanted to get glasses hidden cameras. They were like $2,500.
Right.
So we ended up putting a camera in a trucker hat that was bigger than a GoPro today. And then you did Acorn. So it's come a long way, but what you've said is true. It's a lot harder to cheat video, specifically YouTube. Because I think Facebook video, they're not real because it's just automatic timeline views. So when someone like you gets 5 million views on YouTube, like that's legitimate and people know it's legitimate.
Yeah, I think the point is content is king. So our videos, when someone resigns, so in these last videos that we did, Bob Kramer is no low-level guy. He's a high-level, because it's the White House, friends with Obama. When he resigned and Bob Kramer, Scott Vogel was fired, that's real. The media does not want to report on facts, narratives, opinions. They can ignore that. But when someone gets fired, it triggers an Associated Press wire. It forces the New York Times to talk about it. So we call it, Veritas, we call it scalps. If we get someone to, it's not our mission to get
truly
people
offensive.
fired, but if you can get someone to resign, that forces and triggers the mainstream media to cover it, and that distinguishes maybe what we do from, as you point out, a lot of the stuff online is marketing and hype and aggregation. There's actually 1% of it is actually real investigative journalism.
Right.
And what we do is risky. It's dangerous. It's hard to scale. It's hard to train the people to do it. To not run afoul of the laws, you have to constantly be getting legal advice. There's a lot of things that go into making it work.
And like you said, sometimes strategically, for example, we've covered. Because obviously this election has been very big for you. But there are some times where you've done some videos that haven't been as big, and we've covered them at louderwithcrowder.com because we know that it's important, but we also know, man, this isn't going to be a big click piece because we have to do a lot of explaining, provide some context that can't be given in a headline. And so when people go out now and they just brag, look at our numbers, but they're not doing the work that's important. I mean, we do a lot of original content, and then we also try and feature mainly original content or imperative news. I noticed with a lot of those videos, and remember Live Action too, with the not Star Live Action, Lila Rose.
Center for Progress.
Yes. After the first video, a lot of people didn't cover it anymore, and it was still important. So there is a point now, I think, that has changed from when you and I, to different capacities, worked with Andrew Breitbart. When it's entirely click-based, sometimes things that are more important get lost.
Sometimes things that are more important get lost. And we do small videos, we do big videos, we do local videos. I'm getting thousands of tips a day. I mean, right now, I'm getting tips about voter fraud on Tuesday, and some of these stories are not going to be. I mean, national explosive. It's going to be a local municipality story, but that's important to do too.
I know, but and you can't leave the tip button up anymore because it's just nonstop barrage
Actually,
from Anthony Weiner.
one of the things I struggle with is, I did this video. Some of the work that you and I do is sort of gonzo in nature. It's similar. I have that side of me, and then I also have the serious professional trying to do the real serious. Like for this last video, I had to do it on camera. It's hard. By the way, it's hard to read Chiron off of a TV screen and to be very serious. It's not easy. It's easy to ad lib, but you want to tell your audience how serious this is. Yeah. I do other videos where I dress up in a costume and I go into a crowd, and I try to make people laugh. But there's different videos for different, different journalism for different audiences and different times. So we try to specialize that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's important. And I hope, what I hope is in the down years. This is what I've been saying about this election. Right now, Trump has a chance at winning this. People were furious, saying his chances didn't look good before, and now they look better. I don't think the polls are rigged because I think they've mirrored kind of the controversies pretty well. And isn't it a great thing now that they're not rigged because he's closing in? That's fantastic. I just hope, regardless of the election, win, lose, or draw, that people like you, people like Lila Rose, still get the support in the off years, and sometimes that tends to go away, and you and I know it can be a slow build for a while, and people become defeatist. So if they don't get the perfect outcome, I hope people still keep paying attention. You're doing good work. James, what's the best place for people to find this again?
It's ProjectVeritasAction.com. Let me just say that regardless of who wins the election, I think it doesn't matter who wins the election. People have to see what's happening behind closed doors. That's what our job is, to educate the people, to change the system, because if they had any idea what was actually happening, if the Department of Justice walls could talk, we would be living in a different society because people would vote with their conscience. So that's what our job is to expose. And it's ProjectVeritasAction.com.
Also, it would be a scene from The Shining. He exposes corruption. I make wiener jokes. James O'Keefe, thank you, sir. You must go. And what a nice gentleman. Hey, I got to give a shout out here. Careless Feline, who was out there on Twitter. Kate, was she one of the winners of the costume contest? I don't know, but she's not feeling very well. She's been sending us images. I guess she's not doing very well. She's got the Vicks Vapor Rub.
Ooh.
She got she got like
that stuff reeks.
Lotion. She got Kleenex. Well, you know what? You could play a game. Is it Kate sick or an Anthony Weiner Snapchat? You never know.
You never know.
Actually, Vicks Vapor Rub, oh my word, that would be horrible. That'd be a nightmare.
That would.
So we're going to have one segment left. I wanted to talk about something, this week, today, actually, again, at Buffalo Wild Wings, this girl who was a feminist, I was talking with her, and she couldn't stand, she said, I have to vote for a murderer or a rapist, is what she said. And I said, so you do think Hillary Clinton killed people? She's like, well, no, but... And I said, well, what do you think about Donald Trump, the rape thing? She's like, no, but I think he's sexual assault. She goes, I just hate them both. Then there was a guy who was a fan. And he said, yeah, my mom actually shares your stuff. He was a manager at this Buffalo Wild Wings. And I said, so where are you? He said, nah, I'm thinking about writing in. He said, I have not met anyone in person who is super enthusiastic about either candidate, except for one on Donald Trump. So I think people need to understand that that's most people in this election. Most people are exhausted, just want it over, and it's great if you're enthusiastic about your candidate.
I take a lot of Ubers places, and it almost always comes up at some point, especially the longer rides, and every single one. They both. Every single one, just in a tough spot. Most of them who are conservative were going to pull the lever for Trump,
right?
Begrudgingly, citing Supreme Court and that kind of thing, which I think is perfectly tenable. But
yeah, no, and I understand that my dad is going to do that. My wife, before she had to vote early, she's absentee, so. She said, it just comes down to the Supreme Court pro-life, and I totally understand. I respect that. The reason we try and be, even though this is a comedy show, we try and be objective when talking about these issues is because, again, it doesn't do us any favors. Say, everyone loves Trump, or everyone loves... No, the general population are very, very negative on both of these candidates. And it doesn't matter how many tweets you put out. It doesn't matter what the rallies are. Nickelback has huge concerts. None of those things matter. So if you need to understand how people think, how people feel, in order to be able to convince them. And our job is not to convince the hardcore Hillary fan or the hardcore Trump fan. Our goal is to just provide some information and entertainment to the vast majority of America, 80% of America, who are not enthusiastic about either of these candidates.
And this is not to negate your point you just made, but have you noticed, like around here, I've noticed, I don't know if they've been taken down, but I've noticed a couple less Hillary signs the last couple of weeks, and I have noticed a few more Trump ones popping up.
Well, I'm amazed because, Western Michigan is way, way more conservative.
Yeah.
And this is the first election where there are, I would say, like 3, 4, 5 to 1 Hillary signs.
It's true.
And you probably have more overall Republican signs, but they're local.
Yeah.
So a lot of Justin Amash signs, but very few Trump
timing-wise,
signs.
I've noticed a few more popping up. I feel a few more just like, stuff coming out. They're like, just screw it. I'm just whatever.
Regardless of that, I do think the silver lining here really with this election is everyone sees that Hillary Clinton is as corrupt of a candidate as there has ever been. People in the UK see it. People in Canada see it.
How bad is that?
Right. And so that's when they try and when Louis C.K. says, I actually think I'm not only I'm voting for her, but I'm enthusiastic. I think she's great. Most people look at that and go, come on, really?
How much did she pay?
Yeah, she's an awful human being. So I love that people are coming to grips with that. She still could win, but I think Donald Trump has served a real purpose in that. And I think this has it's changed media forever. That's a good thing. I think cable news, I think traditional media is going to be less relevant than ever. And so it's our job, meaning you, to carry that torch into the next phase, into the next generation in a way that's responsible. So to avoid clickbait, to avoid being dishonest, to avoid just making it about dollars, because then we're no better than cable news, but to actually try and seize this opportunity for the better. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I'm really excited about that with this election. Really excited that we'll be doing a live stream November 8th. Shapiro, Clavin, Anthony Cumia, Nick DiPaolo, Gavin,
It
Dean
is a
Cain.
stacked lineup.
It is a stacked lineup. Of course, you're louder with Crowder regulars. Be a lot of cool. We'll actually have Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton as the states are announced.
Yeah.
So I believe this starts at 7 o'clock Eastern. Some news here. This is something that I found curious. This comes from the Right Scoop. Comes from Politico by way of Right Scoop. Hillary Clinton is doing really, really big in Florida with Latinos, a 60-30% advantage over Trump with Florida Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, 71-19, which would suggest it's not illegal immigrants. It's not just a Mexican thing. But the real thing that I find curious is Cuban Americans, who are the most consistent Republican voting bloc. Probably outside of Mormons in the United States, they're only supporting Trump 49-42. That is new, and that could be a problem in Florida. That's something to watch. I do think the fact that this is even close with Hillary Clinton shows us how negative people are on Donald Trump as well as Hillary.
Mhm.
I think at this, I just think if it were like a Rubio or like a Fiorina, even a Cruz at this point, she's so corrupt. People are looking for a reason to jump ship. So this will be curious. This will be interesting to see. I wonder why Cuban Americans really don't like Donald Trump. Compared, they've gone like typically at least 70 or 80% Republican. So for him to only get 49, maybe some Cuban Americans, if you listen to this program, tell me why that is. That's a noticeable shift.
That is interesting, especially considering Rubio running for Senate there. You would think you get a little bit of bump maybe from that.
Well, he's doing very well. He's doing very well with Cubans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of interesting. I wonder, if there's kind of a...
And Rubio's endorsed Trump.
I don't know.
So, the long story short is saying no one knows anything with this election. And we've always said, probably 60-40 chance for Hillary to win, Donald Trump to win. But we've always said no one really knows.
Everything about it's been unprecedented at this point.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another scandal that could drop on either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton.
There's time.
There's absolutely time. I'm you're seeing them spending ads in certain states that they thought were a sure thing. Like Hillary Clinton sort of stopped spending ads in Colorado. Now she's rushing back. I think the same with Virginia, New Hampshire.
By the time people are listening to this program, something could have happened.
By the time people listen to this, that's the issue too. Sometimes people actually email me, actually you were wrong because this happened, and I go, actually that happened 35 minutes after we stopped the broadcast.
If only we were daily to keep up with
If only we were
things.
daily to keep up with it. There's so much content out there. So here's one thing too. If nothing else, you don't have to take my word for it, like LeVar Burton. We'll take the 6-year-old. Don't take anyone's word for it when they're making predictions on this election, left or right. We just sort of tell you the statistical realities and what I think and what we're seeing happening. But I readily admit that this could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised to see Donald Trump beat this broad. And this is the first week where I've felt that might be more likely than less likely. But I don't know. I mean, people have lost their careers by doing that. Dick Morris, Karl Rove, like they have millions of dollars. This is their only job, and they're not even close.
No.
We've been more accurate than them, and we're not that accurate. I readily admit it. That's why I don't bet on anything. I don't want to bet on a UFC title fight, let alone who's going to be ruler of the free world.
But you better bet on Tim Kennedy.
Well, yeah.
Because he'll come
He'll kick my ass. Yeah. Well, I might actually be doing. Tim Kennedy might waterboard me in a future episode. For those who don't,
That would be fantastic.
So it's been a great.
I'll pay to watch that.
Great program, great guests, and we're gonna wrap this show up in a nice bow. I've got an important message for you. Got some emails here this week, and so that's always what kind of inspires these end of show messages. So you know who you are. I hope you're listening. Don't send me the email and not tune into the show because it's a waste of breath. It's a waste of breath.
Rude.
For breaking news on Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson. We take you now live to a press conference being held by disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner as he addresses the scandals that have unfolded this past week.
I'm very sorry to my family and constituents and who I may have embarrassed.
No, Jimmy, we can't get a live mic feed on there, can we? I apologize. It seems that there's technical difficulties with his sounds. I'll be forced to provide you with narration.
I want people to know that I have...
Okay, it seems Anthony Weiner is apologizing right now, asking for forgiveness, and appears to be throwing an image on the projector in order to assist with "and it's his dick." That is a picture of his dick. Well, no surprise there. We should have seen that coming. A very expensive waste of satellite feed resources. We'll keep you abreast as this story unfolds. For Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson.
And now, Donna Brazil seeks work. And that's a wrap. Miss Brazil, you were brilliant. Yes, truly a natural talent. Well, thank you. I still can't wrap my head around why CNN ever let you go, love. I said the same thing. Well, we are certainly glad to have you as part of the broadcast family here at MSNBC. I am as well. Truly. We've searched far and wide. We thought we'd never find the right stand-in for Al Sharpton. Stay tuned for more. Donna Brazil seeks work. Glad to be with you. Psychotic giraffe.
Not with me. You're not glad to be with.
Never glad to be with you.
No.
Never glad to be with you.
With
We have to
audience.
be here.
We love
We're
the
stuck
audience.
until election night with you. Oh gosh. So it's been a long week. Did you just say the F word?
No.
Did you just say the F word?
No.
Tweet me at Esquire. If he did, he's most certainly fired. Okay, let me say something first. So people were talking about this email. This story isn't mine. It's similar to something that coincides with mine, but this person doesn't want to talk about it, so I have the right to use it. But it's similar to something my dad told me in a similar situation when I was bragging when I was a kid, where I remember one time I was sort of bragging about how good I was at something, or I was impressed with myself. And he said, "Don't ever do that again." And I said, "Don't do what?" He said, "Don't brag like that." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because then we can never do it for you." Talking about him and my mom. And I will say with this election cycle, with the Trump scenario, in the Hillary Clinton scenario, and the social media scenario, it's not just beholden to one person, though I think certainly a lot of the Trump supporters have gone a little further along down the trail. It's easy for people right now, this sort of this braggart culture, this look at how much traffic I have, look how great I am, look how much we're going to do this, look what we're going to look how big we're going to beat people, I'm the best at this, I have more Twitter interactions, this self-aggrandizement. I definitely have felt, it's a self-esteem culture, it's a social justice warrior culture. They do the same thing. They brag about how tolerant they are, and they issue their trigger warnings, and you have people on the right now who simply want to go out. We try not to talk about our numbers or any of that so much. We're very grateful. We talked about them earlier tonight because it matters as far as what Google is doing to throttle. But a lot of people make their career on that right now in this election. They make their career on their numbers. And there are some people out there who say, well, I can do this much. I can draw this many people. I can get this many clicks on an article. You see it all across the board. And someone was asking me about this because it was someone they knew and they said they thought it was distasteful. People can do whatever they want. Let them do what they want. But I will say this. I have seen this in my life. And we're more self-deprecating on the show, but I've seen this throughout my life. That was really telling when my dad said that, don't do that because we can't brag for you. So it tells you two things. A, there are other people who are there, who are willing and actually wanting to find opportunities to exalt you, and they can't do it if you do it yourself. And it's less effective if you do it yourself. You see that with Hillary Clinton talking about what a great job she's done, or Barack Obama with Obamacare. People don't believe them. People don't believe Donald Trump when he says that I'm this great businessman and someone reveals some documents that say otherwise. People are more likely to believe someone else praising somebody. They are more likely to take that at face value, to believe that that's truthful. And you will find, I have seen this throughout my life, having worked with some really high-profile people. I mean, listen, I've been fortunate enough to hang around high-profile people, and some of them have been great and humble, and some of them have been really, really narcissistic asses. And the people who keep their head down and work and focus on what they have to do, rather than how great they've been at doing it, are ultimately exalted. It's that term, he who humbles himself will be exalted. I know, let's not inject the religious thing. I'm just talking, consider it tantric yoga. Consider it an ancient Chinese parable. I don't care. But it is tempting right now in this culture of social media, this culture of me. Look how many followers I have. Look how many clicks I got. Look how many plays I got. Look how many people came to my show. There's nothing wrong with that. You can pat yourself in the back and feel good about something. But when you wrap your identity up in that, and it's particularly easy for young men to do. I see it a lot because men tend to receive affection in that way, positive affirmation, words of affirmation. It's very common. That's a big thing. Men get a pat in the back. If you watch football, they smack each other on the butt. If you watch even any great film, it's, you did good, kid, or you're all right. That's a big way that men receive affection. And so a lot of men who are starved for affection, a lot of men who feel that something is lacking, these people tend to, I'm great at this. How many friends have you had where you just want to have a conversation with them and they are reading their resume? Not Gay Jared knows I have one guy who I love dearly, but I'm like, man, can we just have a conversation as friends? I mean, you can do it when you're going in for a job interview. You don't need to do it with me. And I do think if you look at the statistics, and I do think if you look at what's happening on social media, it's becoming more common because it's necessary to cut through the fog. Just kind of like it's necessary to cut through the news fog. We've talked about clickbait, right? For example, we were talking with James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe releases video of top DNC official calling black people effed in the head. That's the truth. There were 50 other sites that said, you won't believe what Hillary Clinton's surrogate said about black people. And there was the leak that Hillary Clinton said the N-word, things that weren't true, right? So to cut through the fog, they have to blow it up in a way that's dishonest. Well, the same thing for a lot of young men right now, where everyone can kind of have a little bit of a platform, right? Everyone has their own little bit of internet fame. And this happens with women too. To cut through the fog, to be a little more famous, to be a little more noticed, you have to be a little more braggadocious. You have to be a little more brash. You have to read your resume with a megaphone. And that's one thing that I see a lot of, and I will say, that really is inspiring to me to see a lot of people who watch this show, a lot of people who listen to this show. They are much more likely to make fun of themselves than praise themselves. And I know it's sort of gotten to the point where it's funny, and Donald Trump is always listing his resume and always building himself up and a lot of his followers, and you watch it and it's kind of bitchy and it's kind of funny in that way. It's entertaining, but it's not going to be a way for you to live a fulfilling life. I will tell you this, the people who have seen, I worked on a film set with someone who you would know, and I remember he was just constantly talking about how great he was. And now he's not in the industry anymore. And there were other people on that set who were extras who went on to get their own series. Things can change really quickly. Circumstances can change really quickly. But you don't have to change. As a matter of fact, the best way to handle those changes of circumstance in your life, and the best way to be able to accept tremendous blessings or gifts or fortunate events, is to focus on doing the right thing, to focus on doing your work, and let other people recognize your talent. Let other people recognize your accomplishments. Let other people do the bragging for you. Long term, other people will like you more and you will be happier because you're not going to have a full-time job convincing yourself that you're more successful than you are, that you're something you're not. Hopefully that helps. Talk to you next week. Election night, Tuesday. Be there.